And now we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on sportnarium.com/player, talking all things related here to the world of the NFL. We're going to get a Jets take. We're going to get a Patriots take. We're going to get a Brady take in between, I'm sure, obviously, with, of course, the team of the Talking Rivals show, and that is Chris Pizzea and Patrick Trotty. And, of course, Chris does a phenomenal job also with the Liftoff Jets show. And, guys, how we doing here tonight?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm sure we'll get a lot into the Jets. I know Anthony Finkel's going to call us here in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes or so, and we'll get a lot into that, a lot into the Patriots. But I did want to actually bring it up because we didn't get a chance to do it on Friday's show, and there was another passing in the NFL, another giant that had passed yesterday, and I wanted to get into the passing of those two men that certainly made their marks in NFL history. One a little bit more notable, and obviously the first one that happened here in the middle of the week, of course, was the legendary John Madden. I mean, everybody knows John Madden, obviously, from playing video games, but yet he's actually one of the greatest coaches of all time, maybe in all of professional sports, and he is no longer with us. And for our audience watching and listening to this, I wanted to get your guys' reactions. And Chris, give me your thoughts here on the passing of the legendary John Madden.
John, I don't think any one person has had a bigger impact on the league. I think, and a lot of people have been saying that. And, you know, when they said it at first, I said, wow, that's saying a lot. But then when you look back at his career and then you look at that documentary that was on Fox right before he died, it's pretty amazing how much he's influenced the game. Like you said earlier, one of the greatest coaches. I think he has the highest winning percentage of any coach with over 100 games coached. Yep. I think his worst season was his last year when he won
like 9 games, 9 and 5, I think it was.
So he's won a Super Bowl, and then he went into broadcasting, obviously, and then, you know, basically changed the game in that way too, because listening to him was a totally different experience than we've ever heard. Obviously, none of us heard before, but nobody's been like John Madden. I mean, you know, between the noises he made, he just made it more enjoyable. Number one, and number two, he brought it down to like an easier level for the average fan to understand. You know, he didn't give you all this crazy terms. It was just like, this guy went that way, this guy went that way, whatever. And then of course later on with the video game, anybody that influenced everybody at any age now. You know, I started playing video games right about the time, or even a little bit before his first game came out. So he just influenced in every way possible. It's pretty amazing, though, that people like under the age of 20 don't really know him as a coach, barely know him as a announcer, and just know him from Madden, the football game. You know, and that's it's pretty amazing. But like I said, I don't think a one person has ever influenced the game more than him in all the different ways that he did. So it's a horrible loss. I mean, the guy's 85. God bless him. He lived a life that any one of us would have loved.
Oh, sure.
So, but God bless him, his family. You know, our thoughts and prayers go out to them as well. But yeah, it was a horrible loss. And you know, a lot of people are like, oh, they should rename the All-Star game, you know, the All Pros to All Madden team. I was thinking more of the coaching, the Coach of the Year award should be the John Madden award, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue either way. And Anthony Finkel's messaged us, and I told Anthony to hang on tight. I want to spend at least a few minutes on John Madden and Dan Reeves, and Dan Reeves will be next. And before I get to Patrick, what I always thought was fascinating about John Madden was he didn't really play the Madden games. I mean, you think about John Madden, he would have sat there and he would have played these games, and he would have sat there and played them all and would have gave his opinion. But no, he actually he gave his thoughts. He did, you know, whatever his voiceover work was, and that was pretty much it. He really wasn't a video game player.
And get into the video game real fast. When they first asked him, the video game wasn't able to do 11 on 11 yet.
Yep.
You know, the video game, they couldn't widen the screen enough, you know, because of where they were. So he says, listen, he goes, when you guys get to when you could play 11 on 11, which is real NFL, then you could come call me and I'll be involved. Because when they first asked him, I think they were still doing 7 on 7, you know, the old video games.
Like Tecmo Bowl. And,
yeah. So he said, when you could do 11 on 11 and real football, call me. And that's what happened. So
they
I didn't know
definitely did. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I mean, almost, I think everybody, I want to say under the age of probably 50, I'd say 50 and under. If you're 50 and under, you played at least one Madden game in your lifetime, because the first Madden was, I think, 80, 88, 89. And then so we're now into 2000, going into 22, obviously now. And you think about it, almost everybody, I think 50 and under has played Madden or played a bunch of it. And for me, listen, that's how I got into football. Is growing up, a kid in the mid 1990s was John Madden for Super Nintendo. It was
Definitely.
Madden 94. I mean, that was like,
Yep.
then I got into it. It was like, and then each year it got better and better and better with the graphics. And but again, I mean, he was a great coach, great broadcaster. Also, Thanksgiving, he obviously was a big part of that also. And Patrick, I want to get your perspective on your thoughts on the passing of John Madden and what he had meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, he's a titan. He was a titan. He was a giant in the game. I wasn't big into the video game, but I did play it a couple of times. I think I went into. I think I grew up. I kind of came to it backwards. I grew up and I saw the old John Facenda films of him coaching,
Sure.
and then I said, "Oh wait, he's
ESPN
got a
used to
video
run them
game."
all the time. They used to run them all the time in the
Autumn
afternoon.
winds are blowing and all that. Yep. I mean, and then the turducken on Thanksgiving, but I mean, like Chris said, it's beyond being a horrible loss for his family and for his fans, and what he meant to the game. He just brought it down to a simpler level. He wasn't doing like the XY banana route, 32 to go on the cover 3 defense. He was like, no, this guy goes to the left, this guy goes to the right, and somebody's open. And sometimes sometimes we make it out to be a little more complicated than it is, even though it has gotten complicated. I just like that. I just wonder who's gonna pick up the mantle, not and replace him, but kind of be the face and the personality of the modern game.
That's interesting.
I mean,
is Romo that guy?
He was my.
I was
my
thinking
thought.
if Peyton Manning gets into more.
But does he have the
But then you
personality?
have people that can't stand Peyton Manning when he played. So, I mean, you're not going to boo John Madden when he was announcing.
But Romo's got the personality. Manning, I don't know if he's got that personality. Romo, to me, might be the guy because he could appeal to all backers. That's what Madden was. Madden was anybody could talk with Madden. Madden could talk.
I mean, imagine if Romo or Manning ended up getting into ownership, so they had their hands in playing, then they had their hands in the media, and then ownership. That would kind of. But I mean, not that the NFL needs a face of. Like what Madden did, he did the heavy lifting.
But when he came
in, they needed
him. Remember, baseball was the game 30 years ago. We were growing up. Baseball was the number one sport. Now,
And as a coach, you said it, but a lot of people my age are like, wait, he coached? Oh, wow. Okay. And then they look it up, and it's like, I think he has a 729 winning percentage.
Yeah, he's a pretty good coach.
112 and 39, I think, with a couple of ties.
Yeah, he was, he was a very, very, very good coach. And it was a shame that, what they win? 1 Super Bowl? Because they were dominant for, I think, an 8-year span there. They had the most wins in football. It was You were going up against the Dolphins, against the Steelers.
Yeah, that was it.
Even the Vikings. I mean, he kind of overlapped and saw so many different "quote unquote" dynasties.
Yeah, that was the only reason why he didn't get into more Super Bowls, because, like you said, you're talking about Pittsburgh in the 70s. You're talking about Miami. Miami had the perfect season. They were in a couple of Super Bowls. Pittsburgh, obviously, in a couple of Super Bowls.
Minnesota was in a bunch. I mean, Denver was pretty good in the 70s. Also,
and then in the late 60s, you still had the Packers. So he was kind of bunched in between so many giants in coaching, and then to see what he did after his coaching career too, just took off.
True.
Absolutely, no question about it. Again, 103, 32 and 7 regular season, 9 and 7 in the postseason. So you think about it, 112, 39 and 7 was his career record. I mean, incredible record. I mean, again, listen, we talk about coaches today. If they win 60% of the games, we're talking about Buck Showalter in baseball. Oh, he's a great manager. His winning percentage is like 506, I think it is.
Yep.
And this guy, John Madden, his worst year is 9-7. 1978. His worst year, 9-7. This guy's worst year is he's got one Super Bowl. He's got one Super Bowl, went to a bunch of other championship games. But obviously, again, certainly our condolences and prayers to the family of John Madden. Again, everybody, I think, from the age of, I want to say 50 and below, you played one Madden. I mean, I played Madden up until probably about 3 years ago. I'd say about 3 or 4 years ago, I still played Madden. Me and my friend Andy Chow, all we did was play Madden for about 9 or 10 years. I'd sit in his basement. We would play. I think I played Madden with him, like Madden 09.
I remember I paid for a college textbook that way. I played a guy in college for Madden for like a full day. We played.
Yeah, I was doing Xbox Live. If anybody had Xbox Live, I would do it on Xbox Live. Sometimes if I couldn't go to his house, I would connect and play the Brute Force. Brad Weiss is a big Madden guy. I remember he was a kid also. Super Nintendo. You'd play with kids down the block and you'd play Madden. And I remember PlayStation. It was a wholesome. John Madden, again, definitely a tremendous loss. And obviously our thoughts and prayers to the family of John Madden. And also I did want to mention the passing of another giant before I get Anthony Finkel to call in here. And that is Dan Reeves. And Dan Reeves, we know locally with the Giants, and it was kind of a mixed bag, obviously, with his run with the Giants. Also a great player, obviously, the Dallas Cowboys, and coached the Denver Broncos and coached them to a number of different Super Bowls, and turned around the Atlanta Falcons, where that might have been some of his best work. Had the Falcons there with some good teams and got them into, I think one year was 14-2 in 98. They get to the Super Bowl against the Broncos, and that was a franchise up until that point that really hadn't had much success, and he was able to turn that franchise around. And wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the passing of Dan Reeves.
He had a pretty great college career as well. Not, he didn't win the Super Bowl, but I think he went to 4 Super Bowls in his career as a coach. He started off as an offensive coordinator with the Cowboys, and then he got the job with the Broncos. And then he went on to, like you said, coach the Giants. And then, of course, with the Falcons, like you said. And he was also a pretty good player, too. Not a Hall of Famer by any stretch, but he had a pretty solid career. I think he played like 7 years as a running back.
I remember he was in the Ice Bowl. He was the one that did. Didn't he do the halfback option pass in the Ice Bowl?
Exactly.
I just remember the random things about these all-time great guys. Not the Madden NFL game.
Right.
I remember Dan Reeves doing the Dirty Bird.
The Dirty Bird. I remember the Dirty Bird, because I remember the Dirty Bird in school, and it was like all the kids either had that year an Atlanta Falcons jacket or a Jamal Anderson jersey, or you had a Denver Broncos jersey. So that was the year. That was the fad of the Atlanta Falcons, the 1998 Atlanta Falcons.
I think he's 9th all time in wins though as a coach.
Yeah, he's got
up there. He won 190 games in the regular season. I mean, he was a very, very prolific coach. I mean, again,
and he won more than he lost, so that's the good thing too. I mean, he coached a long time. I always thought he should have been in the Hall of Fame as a coach at some point. I mean, a top 10 coach, that's pretty impressive, you would think, right?
You're 9th all time at anything you're doing.
Yeah, you should be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
No question. No question. I mean, obviously, you look at, again, you take the team to 4 Super Bowls. Denver, he takes them to 3, and he takes them to 3 Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken, in 4 years. So it wasn't as if he takes them in 3 Super Bowls in 10 years. And to me, the Falcons takes them to a Super Bowl. And that franchise, I mean, they were pretty much a joke. They were a perennial, every 10 years they'd make the playoffs. And he got them second year, 14-2. I know they kind of struggled afterwards, but he did have a lot of success. I mean, first year with the Giants goes 11-5, and then 9-7 the second year. I think they actually win, if I'm not mistaken. They win 6 straight games in the regular season. Some crazy stat there. And they just missed the playoffs. And obviously, it doesn't end well the last 2 years. But, if you look at his record, again, he's 110-73-1 with the Broncos, 31-33 with the Giants, 49-59-1 with the Falcons. But he's got a career-winning record. And he's won a career-winning record in the postseason. I mean, another guy, like a Marty Schottenheimer or Marv Levy, but might even have more success.
Yeah, he's got a couple less wins than Marty. He's got more wins than Bill Parcells, more than Mike Shanahan, Holmgren, Tom Coughlin, Bud Grant. I mean,
but those guys, they're all
they won it all. So if he wins a Super Bowl,
did Bud Grant win a Super Bowl? Though? I don't feel like
Bud Grant did not.
No, you're right.
He got the 4 Super Bowls like Dan Reeves, and they put him in the Hall of Fame, right?
Minnesota never won.
I mean, I get it with Parcells, but I mean, Dan Reeves was a good coach for a long time, and I'm looking at it here. Thanks to the crack staff, he took him to he went to one championship game here, also with the Broncos. Went to a divisional round on 1, 2, 3, 4 other occasions. So I mean, this guy had a lot of success in the postseason. I mean, he was definitely somebody that he had some good teams. Drafted Michael Vick, obviously, and the Falcons after he left had more success, and then obviously with the Giants had the tail end of the last year of Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor, and so I mean he definitely had a lot of success there.
Yeah, I think he gets. I don't think he gets enough credit specifically with the Giants for what he did, because he kind of saw not the downfall but the slide of that so-and-so dynasty of the Giants, with the end of Simms, the end of Taylor, and then who replaced Simms? Was it
it was Dave Brown, I think. It was Dave Brown.
That's a tough transition to coach.
Oh, my God. Dave Brown was just a terrible quarterback. Yeah, Dave Brown and Danny Kanell.
But I mean, to go from Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor to Dave Brown and, forgive me, I can't even tell you who the outside
But he was a winner there, too, though. You know what I mean? He had some winning seasons with the
Giants.
Giants.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's a tough ask.
And listen, the guy made it to 4 Super Bowls. I think that should get you in. I don't care if you win them or lose them. You know, like you said, Schottenheimer was a good comparison, but Schottenheimer never got to the Super Bowl.
No, Schottenheimer never won the big one.
He really never won the big one. You could say that about Dan Reeves too, but at least Dan Reeves got to the big one. Schottenheimer never even got to the big one. You know, he got.
And Schottenheimer was 5-13 in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Reeves was 11-9.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And everybody, Schottenheimer should be in the Hall of Fame, I think, and I think he should. I think he was a great coach too.
And you know what? I gotta be honest. Those Denver teams that went to the Super Bowl, and even that Atlanta team, they weren't like the most memorable teams. I mean, I know Elway was good, but it wasn't till the end of Elway's career.
Outside of Elway, they really didn't have.
Outside of that 1 year with Elway when they did the drive against the Browns.
Yeah.
I can't remember the year it was.
87, I think it was.
87 or 88, yeah. That team was memorable, but yeah, to your point, I mean, other than Elway, they
really didn't have much.
They had Steve
I couldn't remember anybody that they had, honestly.
They had Tony Dorsett 1 year, but that was at the end of his career.
Yeah, very end of his career.
You know, the running backs was like Sammy Winder. The wide receivers were like Mark Jackson.
I remember Mark Jackson. I remember him.
Like nothing spectacular. Trust me. No Hall of Famers other than John Elway.
That's why I think in a sense that he should be in the Hall of Fame, because, again, those Broncos teams that made the Super Bowl weren't great that he had. The Giants team, he had an old, aging team, and they were on their last legs. And in one sense, you got to give Reeves credit, because I think under his watch, I think Strahan and Jesse Armstead get drafted. So some of that leads to him. I think also Tiki Barber, I think, also gets drafted after Reeves. So I think because of that year, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, there's a lot to look at there. Even the Falcons team, I mean, we talked about them 14-2 in the Dirty Bird. Did anybody really think that year they were going to beat the Broncos and Elway? I mean, Terrell Davis had like one of the greatest seasons offensively.
And listen, the Falcons should have never even got past the Vikings that year.
The Vikings, yeah.
Right, because what's his name? Was it Gary Anderson or Morton Anderson?
Easy field goal.
Yeah, the chip shot. And he was lights out that year, and that was the Vikings.
He didn't have one miss all year.
That was the Vikings team that was 15-1. Randall Cunningham came out of nowhere and threw like 30-something touchdowns.
Yeah, he had like a resurgence for his career.
That was Randy Moss's rookie season.
That was Chris Carter. Yeah, that Vikings team. They should have.
Eric Smith, not Eric Smith. What was his first name? The running back, Robert.
Oh, Robert Smith, who became the ESPN college football broadcaster. Yep. Correct.
No, they had a great team. Minnesota had a great team. That's why I don't think, like you're saying about Dan Reeves, he doesn't get enough credit, because whenever they talk about the Broncos, they didn't have much talent, but John Elway. Okay, but the coach has something to do with that too. They never mention Dan Reeves in that, like, it's always because of John Elway did it. John Elway did it. Okay, yeah, but it was also great coaching by Dan Reeves as well.
Absolutely, and 9-10+ win seasons. I mean, Anthony Fakel's going to call us to talk about the Jets in a second, and I don't think if the Jets had 9-10 win seasons in history, I'd have to think about that. It'll come to me. But I mean, again, Dan Reeves a giant. Obviously, yeah, like you said, also a good player. I think he had 40-something career touchdowns as a receiver and a runner. I mean,
nice little career.
A good career. And talk about the 60s again. You didn't get that many yards. So the fact that he had like about 4,000 plus total yards of scrimmage right around there. No question, had a very, very good career, and certainly our condolences. 88. I didn't realize he was that old, Dan Reeves. I didn't realize Dan Reeves was 88. Maybe I'm thinking about as a kid when he was the Falcons coach. Maybe that, maybe
77.
Okay, well, I'm looking at that.
Yeah.
Thanks to the cracks. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You know what? That's my eyes. My eyes need to be checked. 77. Because I was going to say Dan Reeves. I didn't think Dan Reeves.
I was like 88. Wait a minute.
Because I was looking at it. My eyes might need to be checked. So that's why I apologize.
And I'm like, wait, did that much time go by?
I was going to say, because I didn't realize
it's
Dan
possible,
Reeves.
Though. We always hear ages. Like John Madden.
You asked and you received, Tom. The Jets have, I think, 2 more 10-win seasons than Dan Reeves had as a franchise.
There you go.
barely more.
Think about that. Barely.
Yeah.
We're talking about that in 60 plus years, 11 seasons of 10 wins. I mean,
there you go.
Dan Reeves coached that 9.
Great comparison right there.
Well, that's my point. So listen, no question, he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. 200 plus wins in the postseason and also regular season total. But again, certainly our thoughts and prayers to the families of John Madden and Dan Reeves. And also shout out to Ernest Dove, of course, the Honorable MC Ernest Dove, who tweeted us on Twitter. So he shared our clip, and Ernest has a lot of followers. So the fact that Ernest shared our videos here on Twitter, I certainly appreciate it. I also want to shout out, obviously, the Work in Progress guys. They usually share our stuff. And John Gonzalez, also shout out to him. Mike Lipinski also shared and liked our stuff. So I definitely want to acknowledge all the guys here. While we wait for Anthony Finkel to call up in here, I almost might as well get into it here as a warm-up, since I'm sure I'm going to talk a lot about this here over the next hour or so when it comes to the New York Jets. I mean, here's my problem with it. 24-20, 4th and 2. You do a QB sneak? I mean, help me out.
You hear the press conference? The press conference made it worse.
I know.
I couldn't watch the press conference.
What Saleh said? Saleh said, look,
what did he say?
We called the timeout. I wanted him to hand the ball off. And it was
Michael Carter,
it was just a mix-up in communication.
Like an end around to Barrios, right?
Right. But Saleh said that he told LaFleur to tell him no matter what, hand the ball off. Do not take it yourself. And he just said it like it was matter of fact.
But what I didn't understand is they gave him the option. If they didn't want him to do that, but they gave him the option, though. They gave him the Barrios play, and they said, okay, you could also check down and take it yourself.
Right.
Now, just to give him the option made no sense. I get giving him another option. I'm all for that, obviously, but giving him the option for a quarterback sneak when you need 2 yards?
And when there were, 3 defensive tackles in the game?
Yeah, I didn't understand it at all. A quarterback sneak is usually like a yard or less. Like you just got to push forward.
And it was a long 2. It was a long 2 yards.
Why not just kick? I know it's going against Tom Brady, but
I'm full agreement with you. I wanted him to kick.
Kick the field goal. You're up by 7 with 2 minutes to go?
2:12. It was 2:12 left.
2:12.
I'll tell you why. Either way.
And we're getting into it right now because Anthony Finkel is calling up. He's ready to go.
Either way, if you kick it or not, before you connect, either way, if you kick it or not, Tampa Bay still has to go down and score a touchdown.
Yep.
By kicking a field goal, obviously, then you're giving them, okay, you might go for 2, obviously. We've seen that a lot this year. Or you just kick the field goal and go into overtime. So either way, they had to go down and score a touchdown. So I didn't mind them going for it. That I actually was like, yeah, you may as well go for it at this point. But I just didn't like the quarterback sneak. Just made
that was an awful call, and I want to get obviously the perspective of our resident caller here each and every Sunday. Of course, our dear friend, unfortunately fellow New York Jets fan, and Mr. Anthony Finkel. And Happy New Year to you, my friend. It certainly wasn't the New Year starting off the right way here.
Slip out of their hands. They played to lose. They didn't play to win. I will say this. I was happy that they did go for it on that 4th down call. However, it was a terrible play call. And Zach was the one who made the call and made that read on the QB sneak instead of pitching it. Terrible call, but hey, hindsight's always 20/20.
But why wouldn't you kick the? I'm not getting this here. It's 24-20. They have no timeouts, and it's about 2:12 left when the play would have happened. Right? I'm not following here why anybody would have said, you know what? I'm just going to take the 3 points. Even if Brady beats me, goes down the field, I'm going to overtime. I mean, they got
not really. You never know with this, right? We've seen it a few times this year where they go for 2. This is where, okay, it was a horrible play call.
It was horrendous call.
Right. He should have never did the sneak. He should have just did the Berrios call. I get that. I'm all for that, and I agree. Horrible call. But you know what? The defense is what really killed us today, okay? Not just on that last drive. They gave him what? They had to go 80-something yards in less than 2 minutes with no timeouts. That's one. And then if you go further back in the game, they had a 3rd and 20, and they gave up a 3rd and 20. If they stop them there, they don't go down and score, because on that drive, they ended up scoring. If they stop them there, they were, I think, about the 20-yard line at the time, or 15-yard line. If they stop them there, the Jets get pretty good field position, and maybe they score on that drive.
I could see it from both points of view.
The defense was horrible. Horrible.
Jump in, Patrick.
In my head, I've gone back and forth on this, because what Chris said makes sense. It's no matter what, they have to go down and score a touchdown. Even if you go for it and you don't get it, you're only up by 4. So a field goal does Tampa Bay nothing. You get the 3. If you're the Jets, you're up by 7. They could still go for 2 and win it. So I'm leaning towards, if this is my team, I want them to kick the field goal, take the 7, up by 7, force Brady to go.
Absolutely. I'm 1,000% in agreement with this, Anthony. Let me tell you why, Anthony Finkel. I'm in agreement with what Patrick said, because they got no timeouts. They're down 7. And on top of that, Tampa Bay has a lot to play for. They're not going to be John Harbaugh and make a questionable call like that, in my opinion, because they're going to want to go to overtime. So you know what? I take my chances. They got no timeouts. I'm up 7. At the end of the day, I at least give myself a chance to live another day. We all knew Anthony Brady got that ball, and Chris made good points on some of the players on the defense, but we all knew, gut feeling was, he got that ball back. Tampa Bay was winning. There was no doubt in my mind when he got the ball back after the Jets failed to convert in that 4th down, the Jets were going to lose, Anthony. Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Chris really made a great point, but if you really think about it, the calling card for the Jets defense all season has been giving up those long 3rd downs.
Yep.
3rd and 20, 3rd and 19. In fact, it happens every week. Every week. And you know what? The one from today was a total backbreaker. We had the momentum. We got their offensive line going crazy, doing unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. We were in their heads. We had the momentum. The fans were into the crowd. And you give up a play like that. And see, the thing is with the 4th down call, right? I understand, because I would have preferred them go and kick the field goal, because 7 would have been fine. So if I'm thinking, if I'm Robert Saleh, here's why I'm thinking he went with the 4th down.
All right, go ahead. Talk to me.
He probably thought, if we go for it on 4th down, we kill the clock, there's less time, Brady doesn't get the ball back, we can manage the clock better. However, it didn't matter, because you gave Brady the ball with less than a minute left, and he picked us apart up and down the field. It was terrible. I mean, but what else did you expect as a Jets fan?
Right, and that's why, again, I would rather have kicked the field goal, because at the end of the day, I know I'm at least up 7. I'm up 4. He scores, we lose. And listen, you know what that game reminded me of? It reminded me, Chris will remember this, the Dan Marino fake spike game, where it was it had that same feeling those last few minutes. I remember where I was to this day when that game happened. It was the same thing. The weather was the same. The environment was the same. I mean, obviously, this was a little later in the season, different teams, different scenario, but you just felt like, just like with Marino, when you gave Marino the ball back with not a lot of time, but you gave him enough time, it's the same thing. Tom Brady. I don't care if Tom Brady was at the 1-yard line getting the ball back. I felt that after they didn't convert, the Bucs were going to win the game, because, it's a gut feeling. It's like even what the brute force said on Friday's show. Tom Brady. You can't go against Tom Brady. And it was Tom Brady. Tom Brady could be 84 with the ball, with the 1 yard line against the Jets. He's going down and leading his team to a score. And that's why, to me, I just would rather have gone with the field goal because I didn't feel, no matter what, even if they would have had a better play call, I still felt for whatever reason, gut feeling was they weren't going to convert. That's just what I felt.
But does the shady kicking game this year have anything to do with it? I know it was a chip shot, but
no. But you know what? This new guy that they got, he's
Jump
actually
in, Anthony. Jump in, Anthony.
I think he hit every field goal so far.
Anthony, jump. Good.
No, that's all I was going to say. Pinero has been good since he's come on a few weeks ago. As I like to say, Pinero as Dinero.
Well, I know somebody named De Niro, a little controversial, and Ray De Niro. So hopefully they're not the same. But I hear what you're saying, though. I hear what you're saying. So, but yeah, no, Pinero's been good. No, Pinero's been good. I didn't feel, to me, where we were in the field range in terms of where that kick would have been. I think it would have been like a 30-yard kick, like 28 yards. I think the Jets would have kicked the 3 points. They would have had the ball back. Most likely Brady starting at the 20 because it's most likely going to be a touchback. So they're going to have the ball with just over 2 minutes left at the 20-yard line.
25.
They're down about the same.
Basically about down 7. I'll take it. Listen, I'll take the chances.
Basically the same situation that he would have had. But both
I'm up 7, but I'm up 7, not 4. 4, I know I'm losing. 4, my gut is I lose.
Yeah, but there is Arians, the whole no risk it, no biscuit. Does he go for 2?
Right. Yeah,
I think they have a lot. See, I don't think they're going to go for 2 because they are still playing for home field. I don't think they risk that there because look at the NFC right now. It's all bunched up. I don't think they would risk it. I don't think it's John Harbaugh.
Let me tell you something. We're going to get into it later with the Cincy.
Oh, God. I caught the end of that. Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't my team in that game because I have no idea what they were doing.
I don't know what you know what? What you're saying makes sense. Kick the field goal, and then Tampa Bay, if they score, they're going to go for the 1, tie the game up, take my chances in overtime. They're not going to stop it. You know, like you're absolutely right. That makes most sense. But this year, as we've seen, there's been a lot of 2-point conversions, and then that Cincy game. I'm still like, what are you?
That was bizarre.
Doing?
That was bizarre.
I was like.
And if you want to talk about still the Jets and the Bucks, bizarre. What happened to Antonio Brown?
Oh my God.
What?
Oh my God.
Well, I'm going to answer that before I get Anthony Finkel in.
Okay.
He's probably auditioning because WrestleMania is in a few months. He's probably auditioning for a WWE
contract. Showing him with no shirt on, saying, "If this job was Antonio Brown." That's basically the picture of
Vince McMahon is on his phone right now. I can guarantee you.
Oh, trust me. And I'm the wrestling guy. I'm friends with all the wrestlers. Trust me. I can
or
tell you
that's happening. Pack Wrestling or AEW, whatever.
Yeah.
Someone's calling him up. Someone's calling him up.
Yeah, and Tony Khan, again, his family owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, so that's a point well taken. I almost got to ask you then, Anthony, almost slightly changing the topic. What did you think of Antonio Brown? Because I had 3 people actually text me if I'm going to talk Antonio Brown tonight rather than the Jets outcome. So, Anthony Finkel, I got to ask you, what did you make of Antonio Brown there? Oh my God.
He went 5 while he was like threatening his baby mother or his ex-wife. This season alone with the COVID card, they just, trouble just seems to follow certain type of people. And so, to be honest, I was not surprised at all. I actually was surprised that Bruce Arians cut him. I thought that they were going to just slide this one under the rug too, and ride it into the playoffs and see if they could repeat. But he said enough was enough, and they let him go. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised, but it's always fun to see. At first, I thought it was a fan, and then when it was like, oh shoot, that's craziness is crazy does.
I got to ask the guys, what did you think of that whole situation about Arians and cutting him?
I wasn't surprised. I think once Brady. Last year when Brady stuck his neck out there for him, remember he was saying that he was living with him for a while?
Yeah.
Once Brady puts his name out there to something and you double cross him, I think that's
Yeah, he's
Brady
done.
would just be like, you know what, you're done. You're dead to me.
Yeah, I can't see him coming back from this because,
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a history of just doing some crazy stuff. You know, just this year with the fake COVID card that he had.
Yeah.
You know, and then with the Raiders, that whole debacle
I mean,
there, and the way
if he does this against the
hurt.
Jets in a game, imagine what he would do in the playoffs if he doesn't
Yeah.
get the ball and he's not happy.
No team's going to trust him anymore. I think this was the
mean,
point out. You quit on a team in the middle of a game?
Yeah.
What's that? I think that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
And a team that won the Super Bowl last year, and a team that's got a very good chance to go back this year. That's why
it's not like all right, you quit on the Lions, like in the middle of the all right, I'm done. I can't. We understand. We got that. But this team is going to the playoffs, and they're one of the best teams in the league, and you're quitting on them in the middle of a game? That's like the worst thing a player could do. So I don't see him coming
Anthony,
back.
go ahead. Jump in. Talk to me.
You know what that makes me think of? I forgot his name. Remember that Bills player who retired in the middle of at halftime?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, who was that?
I forgot his name, but
wasn't he a linebacker or he was a defensive guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He might have been like a linebacker special teams guy.
Yeah. Yep. I don't think it was because he was maybe it was definitely not this.
Well,
I would love to know why Antonio Brown flipped out like
Well,
this.
I think the two might have parallels. I think there might be a little mental health issue.
I saw somebody I know post that on Facebook, actually the assistant coach for the York men's basketball team, a friend of the show, and that was Jamel Gist. And Jamel Gist had posted something about CTE related. Maybe somebody should check into that. I mean, Anybody buy into that, Anthony? You ever thought of that? Could it be CTE related? I mean, there is a big problem with that, especially in football. You buy maybe anything related to that?
We'll see how that turned out today. But mental health is a very big issue in the NFL these days. It has had some, the concussions and those issues have kind of manifested themselves in different ways. We know Brandon Marshall, who used to be on the Jets, had some kind of psychological issues. He had emotional issues, but then also compounded with CTE. I think we all remember Junior saying.
Oh, that was my next man. Yep, I was about to mention that. Yep.
He's like, you always look to that case when you talk about CTE. I do think it's very real. I mean, these guys are beating and banging their heads from a lot of times. They're 8, 9, 10 years old in PB Pop 1 in football. It is something to consider. Like I personally, I don't have children, but I know that when I do have children, I'm going to start them with low contact soccer, basketball, and then in high school or further, if they want to play football, high school, college, then they can jump in. But I wouldn't have my kids banging their heads around, not with all the stuff we've been learning about CTE.
Yeah, it is a big thing in football, and to a lesser extent, it's
soccer
been
too.
Wrestling.
I was going to say with that, I have a couple of cousins who had, I think they had a concussion from heading the ball.
Okay.
Like a corner kick type of thing. But yeah, it's definitely with football. I would steer my kids away if I had kids from football.
And again, this is not the first time this guy's done something completely right. Bat poop crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's got a history, and it's a shame because he should have gotten help probably 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Right.
But this is just another crazy thing that this guy's done, and he's probably.
And it's a shame that it takes stuff on the field to happen,
right?
For somebody to step in and say, "Look, that's enough."
Yeah.
The off the field stuff, you can say it affects people more. He's had off the field issues, and people just kind of say, "Oh, that's all right. We'll give him another chance." But then when it happens on the field, people are like, "No, you're done." You just wish somebody would have gotten it to him earlier. And look at what him and Le'Veon Bell could have been in Pittsburgh. I mean, totally different trajectories and reasons why they went their separate ways. But look what they could have had.
Le'Veon Bell got that 2-point conversion today. He converted.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell was more of just a wrong business decision that he
right.
made.
But what I'm saying is, imagine if they just stuck together and just kind of.
Oh yeah. Unreal.
It was typical. We get Le'Veon Bell and what happens. I mean, but that's for another discussion. I mean, anything else on the game that you want to talk about? I mean, it's hard for me to get on the positive, even though there was a lot of positives. But to lose the way we did, it's kind of makes it, feel the way we feel right now. I mean, but is there anything else, Anthony, you want to get off your chest related to the game and such?
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't super devastated by this loss. I was very excited throughout the game. I do.
But why were you not devastated? I know what you're going with it, but I'm still looking at it like this was a game that we should have won.
You know what? We've said that a lot this season. And
Yeah.
you just kind of chuck it up and say, this is our learning season. This is our growing games. This 100% was a game that the Jets had and they gave it up. But I'll say this: Zach Wilson looked like he played a complete game today, start to finish. He didn't have the yips. He wasn't slinging, easy passes in the dirt. Berrios is solid. We have to re-sign him. He's not a number one. I still would say he's probably a number 3 receiver, but he's solid. He's a playmaker, good chemistry. And I just think that, to be honest, I just feel that today the Jets look better than they looked when they started the season. I think we know who some of our building blocks are. I think we know who we're getting. Mims, he's gone.
Yeah.
Ryan, he's gone. So I think we've found some key players, some building blocks. The Jets looked good. They looked decisive. The offense was creative. LaFleur much better from up in the booth. And to be honest, I just feel like the Jets are in a better place going into next season.
Well, I gotta jump in real quick before I get Chris. And first of all, it sounds like you're listening to the Liftoff Jet Show, which of course you can follow again on Twitter at Liftoff Jet. So cheap pop for the guys, of course. Sharman and Chris are on almost, I think, every day from Wednesday on sportnarium.com/player. So if you are watching this, please make sure you tune into the Liftoff Jets. Usually Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, and Fridays in the morning, and then throughout the weekend to get your fix on the Jets and all the latest happenings in the world of the NFL. But Anthony, the last time I spoke with you on the phone, I will have to say, I think the last time you called up in here, you took a completely different take. Now, it kind of is what I said that could potentially happen a few weeks ago. The last time when you called in was, I said, you know what? You walk away from this team, even though, yes, it's a devastating loss. To me, it's still a devastating loss. I want to win these games. But you've seen signs now. Wilson, the last 4 games, has looked very serviceable. You talked about Berrios. You talk about different other guys on the team. You're starting to see that the team, they didn't give up. They didn't quit. They're building blocks. We have draft picks. We have cap room. So I just want to make sure I'm on the right track here, Anthony. From a few weeks ago to where we are now, you feel a little bit more optimistic regardless about what happens next week.
100%. I'm buying on the Jets.
All right, so you sound like you're like me on crypto. You're just buying right now. You're buying, not selling. I want to get Chris in here real quick before I let you go. Chris, anything you want to add on some of those things? I know Anthony feels about the positivity. I know you've been telling us, and now it looks like it's starting to come to fruition here.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, listen, on the positive side, we played well against the defending Super Bowl champs for basically 58 minutes today. So that's the way I look at it. And we were out of our top 3 wide receivers, our top running backs, because Carter got hurt early on in the game with a concussion. Without our top 2 tight ends, not that they're great or anything, but and then we lost Fant early in the game, so we were out our tackle. Not our top center either. So we've been talking about how badly injured our team has been, and then you add the COVID issues as well. So that's the way I look at it, and I think he's right. Berrios does have to be re-signed without a doubt.
You guys mentioned on your show this past week.
Yeah, you have to learn how to win. I hate to say that the hard way.
No, you do, absolutely.
You have to figure out. You have to put together 60 minutes. So the positive is 58 plus, great game. Now the final 2 minutes, you got to learn from it. You got to coach Zach up and say, you played a great game until that final little bit. Now just finish it off, some corrections with the defense, and those are games that in the future you find a way to win with a veteran team.
And just like he said too, like you could see where we are definitely deficient in, like especially defense. You know what? We need help at linebacker because we can't cover a tight end to save our life, right? So we definitely need at least 2 tight ends. We need more guys coming off the edge, pressuring the quarterback, without a doubt. I know we're getting Lawson back next year, but we definitely need another edge rushers. So hopefully in the first round we're getting one of them as well. We could add to the corners because the corners right now are playing pretty good. Eccles and Hall, they're playing very good. So I'm very good on that aspect. Safety, obviously, that's a huge question mark. So defense is definitely going to be where we're going to need a lot of extra personnel, right? Offensively,
absolutely.
right? Offensively, again, we were out our top 3 wide receivers. Crowder's probably not coming back next year, but you got Davis coming back, and you got Elijah Moore, who we seen explode this year when he did play. So
Davis, Moore, and Berrios isn't a bad place to start.
No.
I like Moore a lot. I like Moore a lot.
Right, me too. I think the thing with Berrios, though, I just hope he doesn't ask for the moon because he's not a number 1 or a number 2. So
no,
I just hope he doesn't price himself out of where the Jets might look at him as what he is, a gadget guy.
I keep saying a team that's
and playing the agent end of it, he might say, you know what, the Jets have a lot of cap room. Let me try to see if I can.
I keep thinking a team that is like one little thing away from winning it all is going to pay extra for him for that special teams boost.
Yeah,
that's a big.
And you know what? And he might look at that as, hey, I'll go there, even if it's for a shorter deal. Maybe the Jets might offer me more years, but they might offer me more, but also a better shot at a Super Bowl within the next 2 years. But then again, he might like the team that we're building here, and he might say, listen,
I think there's a core a little bit. There's a culture. I think there are things you like about this team. I think you have to be encouraged by the fact the team hasn't quit. I know the record, again, is what it is, and today is still devastating, but this team could have easily folded and given up. I mean, look at Jacksonville. We'll get to that after Anthony calls. I mean, 50-10. I mean, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple. There are two different. There's a tale of two records.
Right, but
4 wins.
The point is,
there are some teams with 4 wins that are just going nowhere.
Right, and well, we're gonna get to them also. But the Jets, I don't feel that way. And
Exactly.
I almost have to chuckle and read off my friend Daniel Slavin's quote, fellow Jet fan, before Anthony signs off here, and I can't disagree with him on this one. He said, "You can quote me on this one for the regular season finale." This is Daniel Slavin, of course. He says, "The Jets had another successful year. They just ended the season." Yeah, but Daniel, there's building blocks here. I mean, not so fast, my friend. The words of Lee Corso. There might be some hope. I know it's tough.
There's a lot of hope. If you don't see it, I mean, come on, guys.
He likes it.
There's a lot of hope there.
Daniel Slavin likes to push the buttons. That's what he likes to do.
No, listen. I've been a fan for a long time, so I get it. I've been through this. Oh, wait till next year. We're building and we're.
But there's something here that you can buy. What they're selling.
I'm on the air 3 years, and every year I'm like, oh, the Jets are going to be great. Oh, listen, every year I did the draft in 19, 20, 21. Oh, they're going to be good. I'm telling you, they're going to be good. And so, look, I get it. I get it.
I get it too. I get it. I understand. I don't blame them.
Anthony, anything else on your mind? Anything before I have you sign off here? And obviously, all you do here for us, I can't thank you enough. And I'm sure you're going to be on a big job tomorrow and big places and big things for in 2022. But anything else you want to say before you sign off here? And also plug anything related to DPH and social media.
No, I think I got everything off my chest that I need to say about the Jets. I am sad that the season is coming to a close.
So am I.
But other than that, we are back to the new year. We are back to work. We are starting with the 2 small renovations lined up this week. One for interior living room.
I saw that you had a nice one. I saw in the neighborhood there in Ditmas Park. You were working on that old house there with the guys, and you guys were dumping out all the garbage there in the one house. I didn't realize they had that much garbage, I guess, in that one particular house. Oh, okay. Well, Christmas in Ditmas Park, I could certainly see that. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I've seen that everywhere. Everybody's got Amazon boxes these days. All right, fair point. Point taken.
So we're back to work. We're taking on more renovation projects. We begin our contract, our landscaping contract with JFK on the 10th. So this time next week, we'll be gearing up to head out to JFK to start off a new chapter in the business.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm waiting for the day before you go when you're working on the MetLife Stadium. That's what I'm working on. I'm working on next. I'm waiting to see when Anthony Finkel's got the contract for MetLife Stadium. Listen, before I let you go, it can't be so bad because I was trying to watch the Knicks-Raptors game after the Jets game, and there was no fans in Toronto. That was tough. That was very tough to watch. So at the end of the day, at least we had what we saw today. But obviously, Happy New Year, bro. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all you do for our communities, obviously, in Southern Brooklyn. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you one more time here during the week and during the season. And thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And that was some good therapy there. I think I walked away feeling a little bit better. Thank you. And that was, of course, Mr. Anthony J. Finkel, of course, the man behind DPH Property Management. They are literally everywhere. You can follow him on Facebook and Twitter at Anthony J. Finkel and Instagram as well. And you'll find where he is next. He's kind of like a Where's Waldo when it comes to projects throughout New York and the tri-state area. So shout out to Anthony Finkel for giving us a call here. And then I want to go into it because I did mention the aforementioned New England Patriots. And congratulations, Patrick. Patriots get that much-needed 10th win. And it's going to be an interesting week once again for the Patriots because a lot on the line between the Patriots and Dolphins. And obviously, I know it's the Jaguars, but give us the keys here to the Patriots victory. It's pretty much just set up.
Yeah, here we go. The keys were that they showed up. Showed up.
Yeah, that's all they had
showed up to the right stadium at the right time for kickoff. Now, I mean, look, there was even a little video out there showing Mack Jones and Bill Belichick laughing with each other during the game. So somebody actually told a joke that Bill Belichick approved of. But look, a win is a win in the NFL. Ramondre Stevenson, next running back up, I think he had 107 on like 19 carries, a couple of touchdowns. He's a big back. He could be an X factor in the playoffs. A big bruising downhill runner, fresh legs, not a lot of tread on the tires. So, but Mack Jones, this was a big game for him because even though it was the Jaguars, he had to come out and play a clean game after what he did because he pretty much did not show up against Buffalo. The last week, he just looked like a rookie, but he looked like a rookie in September. So, I mean, for a while there was he can do no wrong. Oh my God, he's the next great one, and then he comes back down to earth. So I'm not going to get that crazy over it. It is the Jaguars, but it's a good win. I thought they would win 9 this year, so they're already at 10. So now it comes down to Miami at the end of the year, and Chris has been saying it, and I didn't want it to be true, but Miami always gives them problems at the end of the year. It's either
going to be an interesting matchup.
Comes out with a great play. Well, back in the day, it would be Marino does something well. I mean, it's just.
I always liked when Marino and Bledsoe used to match up. I always thought I know that Bledsoe, we kind of forget about him in the run with obviously Brady, but I always liked those Marino Bledsoe matchups.
For like a year or two there was Marino, Bledsoe, Jim Kelly in the same
and Boomer Esiason
and Boomer.
Right, with the Jets.
That's
right.
pretty.
And Jim Harbaugh. I got to throw Jim Harbaugh in there also because for a couple years, the Colts were in the AFC.
Yeah, that's true.
AFC.
Back-to-back years, I think they made it, right?
Yeah, there was some good
I remember
quarterbacks
Bledsoe and Marino, they had like I think it was like a combined 900-yard passing game.
Yep.
That was on opening. Wasn't that opening day, though? Right?
Yeah.
It was like a muddy.
Yeah, it was because that was the old Joe Robbie Stadium where the Florida Marlins played.
Yeah.
I always liked Joe Robbie for him.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a fun place to play. And John Gonzalez is watching, and I got to get John Gonzalez in. He says John was at the game. He says Brady strikes again. He says Antonio Brown freaked out again. This was the last straw. His NFL days are over. John also said that the stadium was mostly full of Brady fans. He said a lot of Patriot fans were at the game. Wow. He said they came out to see Gronk and Brady. And he also says, got to give it to the Bengals. We'll get to them next.
I'm going to have an aneurysm. What are we doing, Patriot fans? You've got a young quarterback. You've got the greatest coach of all time. You're going to the playoffs. Let it go. He's done.
You got to cut the cord,
as they say, right? Are done. We've moved on.
I'm with you. Listen, I'm with you.
A year and a half. What have you done for me lately? Let's focus on Mack Jones.
Right.
Focus on the present and the future.
Exactly.
A team that won 10 games this year going into the postseason. I mean,
I mean, look at their receivers. You talk about a 1, 2, and a 3. We don't have a 1 or a 2.
Right.
Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne. I mean, our top players, our tight ends, our top signings are supposed to be the difference makers. They haven't shown up either. So with a rookie quarterback, I would tell Patriot fans just to don't focus on what Tom Brady is doing, please, because then you're going to blink and all of a sudden Brady doesn't care either way. Brady's going to be 55, still playing, class of 2070 probably. He's going to still be playing somewhere else, and you're going to blink and you're going to miss Mack Jones' first 5 years of his career.
That reminds me of in baseball when the Mets had Julio Franco, and Julio Franco was hanging on to playing until he was 50.
Julio Franco could still probably bat 250 right now.
Yeah,
that's my point.
He'll figure it out.
National League pinch hitter.
I seen a picture posted of him this week, or it was last week, and the guy still looked like he was in incredible shape. So
he's probably playing like a Dominican Winter League.
Sure, he's playing some kind of beer league or something somewhere, right? He's got to be somewhere.
Certain guys, their genes
breaking softball home runs and stuff.
Well, in the NFL, listen, remember what was his name? Darryl Green just played forever. I mean, he was just
he was always like the fastest guy. Remember?
Yeah, I mean Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice had 80 catches, I want to say, and like 1,200 yards in 2002, I think. He was 40 with the Raiders. I mean, Jerry Rice had some still.
Didn't Tim Brown have a little left in him at the end?
He did.
A long time.
It's just tough to see the players that hang on for one too many years.
Yeah, it's sad.
Like Chris Carter going to the Dolphins.
Oh, and I think Chris Carter didn't he retire, then came back, and it was like he played like a handful of games. Or
even Jerry Rice as a Seahawk, if you remember.
Yeah,
that little.
Yeah, he got cut. He got cut by was it Denver? I think took him on.
Denver took him. And
Denver. Well, Brett Favre. I mean, nobody can go out like Brett Favre did. I mean,
I'm still not sure he's really retired.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure if someone said, "Hey, would you want to play?" I'm sure he'd be back.
And I gotta throw in
tonight.
And I gotta throw in Vinny Testaverde was what 44 or 45, and he was still quarterback. I mean, Doug Flutie was.
Flutie was drop kicking for 2 points in New England.
Yeah, I remember
Doug Flutie was 43, I think, the last he was in the league, 43 or 44. Then there was the old Raiders quarterback. What was his name? Was it Vince Evans? I think it was. Vince Evans was.
He lasted forever.
Like he was 41.
Warren Moon made it to 42, I think, right?
Warren Moon was 43. Good point. In
43,
fact, Warren Moon, I think one of his last years was almost 4,000 yards with the Seahawks. Yeah, good point. Warren Moon was a good one. Yep, good point with that. So Patriots fans got to let it go. Listen, Mack Jones is a good quarterback, 22 for 30. Look, it was such a good day that you had that even you had what's the name, Brian Hoyer get some snaps. So I mean that's obviously.
You know what? This was one of those games where the Patriots needed. This is a good confidence builder.
Get right game.
Yeah, going into the
momentum
Dolphin game next week, and if they could win that one, then you go right into the playoffs. Look, we just won 2 big games.
I wanna have Brian Hoyer's life though. Seriously, just hold a Microsoft Surface tablet for a couple of weeks a year.
How many Super Bowl rings does he have?
Too many.
Yeah, he's probably got 1 or 2 at least.
2, right? I think 2, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
I would love to come back as a Brian Hoyer.
You know what?
Second or third string quarterback in the NFL.
Right now, New England is matching up against Kansas City in the first round of the playoffs.
Of course. So we win and we go from facing an unproven Cincinnati team last week to now they get Kansas City.
Well, listen, that's how topsy-turvy it is right now in the NFL. Is that the Tennessee Titans, who are a team that we can't figure out the last month, they're actually right now the team that has that first-round bye.
I can't believe they're the number 1.
Who would have guessed that?
I would have never guessed that.
No.
I still don't believe it. To be honest, looking like I've never been impressed by Tennessee, and I'm still not impressed. I
always thought they were a good team with Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You take him off the team.
Even with him, they're good, but are they like Kansas City? That's a team. Yeah. That's an elite team. That's what I thought it was going to get the number 1 seed, but
if
guess
they don't
not.
get number 1 seed,
not a chance. I mean, let's not
I'm not saying that.
No chance.
As long as the playoffs don't have to go through Arrowhead.
Right.
If I'm a Patriot fan looking at it, or if you have a team in the AFC you're looking at, I mean, I'd much rather go through Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's not unbeatable, and
No.
their home turf is not like known as the toughest place to play. You know, like Arrowhead is tough.
We've seen in the past. I mean, Baltimore went into Tennessee, right? And they beat them. I mean, recently.
Oh
in the
yeah,
postseason.
last year. That was last year. I mean, there was hardly no fans, but last game is against the Texans.
Yep.
So.
Well, Houston's not quit in the
know.
season. Houston's not quit in the season. I mean,
Yeah, no, they're still playing hard. So,
and they have a win against Tennessee also this year. I would remind everybody.
To me, Houston, the parallels between the Houston and the Jets are
very similar.
Kind of similar right now. Not at the start of the year with the whole quarterback with Tyrod, but now with Davis Mills, with a young quarterback, a younger coach, kind of moving in the right direction, finding identity, but.
I need to mute Hall.
Somewhat. I agree.
I mean, I'm saying where they are now, not at the start of the year.
Yeah, there's much more promise now than there was week one. Definitely. I thought, what is this team? I mean, they're going nowhere, but they do.
At the start of the year, I thought the Texans would go winless.
Yeah, no, me too. I didn't see them winning games. I thought they would be the worst team, and Jacksonville would be the second or third worst team.
Yeah.
Well, we'll certainly see.
Not all horrible teams are created equally. Some are just on a different level.
That is true.
We have technical difficulties here. Bear with me.
But yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah, no, it's I think it's crazy that Tennessee is the number one seed. I keep like when you posted it in our chat, I was like, it's not registering right because you're assuming
the AFC is like musical chairs.
Right, but Kansas City lost today. You know, big game, but they lost. So
well, they lost, and for a number of different reasons. I know you kind of jumped on it here a little while ago, Chris, and wanted to get your reactions and everyone's reactions here on the Cincinnati Bengals. And we talk about bizarre play calling, and certainly there was a luck of God that they were given, certainly on a redo there. But I mean, was that as bizarre of a call as you've seen late in the game?
I think so, because you kicked I was like, kick the field goal. Don't go for it. You know, like it made no sense on 4th and goal. You're going to go for it. You kick a field goal. The game is over basically, right? What was there? 30 seconds left or something?
No, there would have been, I think 55, but no timeouts.
Right.
50 seconds. Mahomes would have had 50 seconds with the ball.
But any timeouts?
No timeouts.
No timeouts. Right. I don't know. I know, but 4th down, no. And then they got the pass interference call.
Well,
right?
Romo, I don't know if you were listening to the call. Romo actually had said that he was almost like, well, maybe you think about going for it here because Mahomes gets the ball back with 50 seconds left. I mean,
right.
Romo changed his mind in between 3rd and 4th down on the call.
Right.
He said, if it goes to 4th down, a play from now, I would say go for it. And then on 4th down, he said, okay, maybe they'll go for it. And then when they got the first penalty, he said, no, now you're kicking the field goal.
Right.
And they went for it again.
Right.
I think it should have been again 31-31. All you need is a kick. He's got now it's not like Brady. Now Brady had 2+ minutes left, right? So take a step back. They're two totally different situations because Brady would have had 2 minutes and 12 seconds. He's down by 4 or 7. Mahomes in this case, he's down 3, 50 seconds left, no timeout. So if you kick the ball, you figure you get the ball to 25, but let's say it's a touchback. You got 45 seconds, 44 seconds. I mean, realistically, your chances are very high.
Field goal to tie.
Yeah, but you're not going to give up a touchdown in 44 seconds. I would say at least you have a chance.
I don't know. I mean, look, I didn't have skin in the game, so I'm like, go for it. Go ahead, roll the dice. You know, but I think realistically, who do you trust more? Joe Burrow with the ball in his hands for one play or your Cincinnati Bengals defense?
With a lot of time left.
I'm trusting Joe Burrow for one play. I mean, obviously it worked out, so I can say that easier.
And it wasn't even on his right. It didn't work out, but
I mean, what I'm saying is, do you trust your offense to make a play, or do you trust your defense to stop Mahomes?
Started to play well though. The second half of the game, they only gave up 3 points the whole second half.
Yeah.
That was early in the fourth quarter as well, so they definitely adjusted.
Yeah, so they did play well. I mean,
I would
it was
just
like
be
50 seconds.
terrified of having Tyreek Hill running crazy down the field at the end of the game.
That's what I'm saying. This year, I guess with the analytics, they're getting more into it, and these numbers are coming up. Like your chance here, you got to go for it. And I agree, Patrick. You know what? Yeah, you know what? The way, especially the way the offense was clicking, and Jamar Chase having the amazing game that he had, but man,
He's got to win the Rookie of the Year, right?
I would think so. Well, it's
With
either
this type of game.
offensive Rookie of the Year, yeah,
offensive, yeah, and then Micah Parsons defensive, I think.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
yeah, Jamar Chase was undefensible this game, unguardable almost.
You have to look at from that standpoint. Where would Joe Burrow be without a Jamar Chase? I mean, we talk about all the numbers that he's had, but having a guy like that has to be so big for a young quarterback. I mean, you think about the season that he's had and how important he's been to that team. And obviously, congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals for winning the AFC North. Certainly unlikely scenario here, but that has taken place.
And you got to remember, he also had a lot of chemistry with him being their teammates in college.
No
So
question.
That's a pretty good safety blanket to have.
How big is
I still thought the pick for them in the draft was to get Sewell to protect Burrow, especially after Burrow got hurt the year before, right? So that's why I thought too. But having that connection,
200. Yeah, I tell you what, 266 yards this week, 125 last week. I mean, 79.
Of course,
catches.
after my team's out of the playoffs in fantasy.
That's a brute force like reaction there. 79 catches, 1,429 yards, and 13.
He did what Justin Jefferson did last year as a rookie.
Yeah,
basically, they put up
comparable numbers, very comparable.
And that's a great safety blanket to have for Burrow. Usually your safety blanket, so to speak, is, a 10-yard pass
tight end
over the middle, a tight end, a slot receiver. This guy takes the top off the
and they
defense.
do have they have other good receivers, and they have a good tight end and a good one of the best running backs as well. So their offense is loaded. So
no question. And again, very comparable numbers. And thanks to the crack staff for giving it to us. Last year, Jefferson, 88 catches for 1,400 yards, just about 16 yards of reception. One difference, though, Chase has 13 touchdowns. Jefferson had 7 last year. So that goes back to that whole security blanket angle. So I'm going to ask it again. That last play, Chiefs, Bengals, or quote unquote, not last play, but the play originally they were going to call. Both of you guys. And I'm going to ask it again one more time because I'm sure people are going to listen back to it. They're watching it, and they want to hear what you have to say. Would you have kicked the field goal, or would you have gone for it deep in that territory, 4th down?
I'm kicking the field goal there. It just makes too much sense. And their defense was holding down Kansas City. Like I said, they scored 3 points in the entire second half. And if you look at their numbers, Tyreek Hill had 6 catches for only 40 yards all game. Even Travis Kelce was 5 catches, 25 yards. He scored a touchdown, but nobody was really beating him on the offense, especially in the second half. So I think I would have put the game in my defensive hands because they were playing so good in the second half. And too much bad to go if you go for it. They lucked out that they got a penalty on that last play.
They lucked out. They definitely lucked out, and it's easy to take my position after knowing the outcome. But as they were doing it, I was like, you know what? Just go for it. I really think that they did the right thing going for it. I think in football, at the end of the game, it comes down to you want on the field which side of the ball you trust more. You don't want to put it in. Like I said, do you trust Joe Burrow and his playmakers, or do you trust your defense more? If he's given truth serum, Zach Taylor, an offensive coach, is going to say, I trust my offense more right now because Tyreek Hill is due for a big play. So
That's true.
And I got a few other comments I got to read off here. Steve Saperstein chimes in and says, "Poor Patriots fans. Who cares how they feel?" Oh, he's a Jets fan though, so you have to take it.
Yeah, I know. I'm complaining. I'm saying, oh, they only have 10 wins. Blah,
Yeah,
blah,
he's a
blah.
Jets fan. Don't even trust me. He's a Jets fan. John Gonzalez chimes in. He has a couple of thoughts here related to the beginning of our conversation. Thanks, John, for checking that out. He says George Blanda of the Raiders was the oldest starting quarterback ever. He was 47. Good catch, John. I didn't realize George Blanda
And he was a
47.
kicker, too.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. Thanks for that. John also chimes in a couple different thoughts. He says Le'Veon Bell looked good coming out of the backfield, but he's lost the step. He doesn't hit the holes like he used to. Okay, that's a good point. And then he also brings up, he related to the Bengals. As we know, John has been very much on the record as saying he doesn't trust them much. He says, okay, today I give it to them. But again, kind of what I think we've talked about here on prior shows, I still don't trust them in the playoffs because, well, why? They haven't won a playoff game since 1990. So
they got to show
they got that hanging on their necks.
This is a big step in the right direction, but I'm not anointing them, the team to beat in the AFC.
But, if you take a step back, right, we just talked about the Titans. The Titans are the leaders, quote unquote, in the AFC right now. Who trusts the Titans? We've talked about the Patriots, and there are going to be some people that still won't be convinced on the Patriots because
it's a rookie quarterback.
Right. And then you've got the Chiefs, which looked a little bit mortal here. You've got the Bills. I mean, anybody still convinced about the Bills? I mean, so I'm not saying
my Super Bowl pick. I got to still ride with them.
No, and you know what? They're in the playoffs, so you're alive. So at least you look good with that. I mean, and obviously Mother Superior is happy as well because she made sure she chimes in. The only time she chimes in on the football side of the Sportzwire radio chat when the Bills
I never told her. Josh Allen he's my favorite quarterback right now.
Yeah, he's had an incredible season. I mean, no question.
He didn't play well today, but.
He didn't need to play that well today because they were playing the Falcons, the dumbest team in football, according to the Brute Force.
But to your point, Tom, every team in the AFC has a flaw. Every playoff team.
But that's why you could make the case that almost every one of these teams has a shot.
There's no perfect team in the league this year. None.
Yeah, I mean Green Bay.
Every team is beatable. Green Bay's beatable.
Yeah,
they might be the best team.
I can see Green Bay going after Barrios, saying, "Look, if we need a special teams play at the end of the game, shift momentum." But
what are you bringing? But I would assume that's the point about Barrios going to a team that could win a Super Bowl. But is that going to be with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback?
Right, that's a whole
probably not. But probably not. Yeah, if he's not there, then it's
I don't think the Packers are a can't miss Super Bowl team. I don't.
No.
I mean.
You could argue that they're the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, they're the closest thing to a lock,
but they're definitely not perfect. They're beatable.
No.
Listen, teams today. Listen, I mean, the Brute Force, unfortunately, got to give him credit.
Oh, he was right. I got with Dallas and Arizona. I'm out there.
And he'll share this on Instagram. I can guarantee he's been sharing all the clips on Instagram.
It's crazy that we even got to mention this, but in this day and age, in this year, last year. We also got to mention with this COVID stuff that just pops up at it could pop up next week, right before a playoff game. Up, Aaron Rodgers tested positive. You never know. It could happen. We've seen it. I hope.
Yeah, if I'm anything to do with the Packers organization right now, I'm putting him in one of those hazmat suits.
Yes,
those bio waste, just bubble wrap them.
I'm shocked that these teams have.
Look, you can do your podcast, you can do your shows with McAfee, you can rant and rave, but we got to get the microphone into the suit, the bubble.
Yeah, I'm shocked they don't put these teams in bubbles now for the playoffs. Like, listen, we're in the playoffs. Nobody goes out. Stay in the team hotel. That's it. That's all.
You're going to tell grown men making millions of dollars to stay in a hotel? I get it.
But I understand the flip side.
I'm just picturing like the Holiday Inn.
No, I know. You can't.
The flip side of it, though, is that you're playing for a Super Bowl, right? The season ends in 5 weeks?
Right.
I mean, this is a once in a lifetime. I remember when the NHL came back with the bubble. Back in Canada, and that was the line that a lot of the Islander guys used because the Islanders were one of the teams that came back in the bubble, and it was like, well, you know what? We're given this opportunity to play. It's not that bad of a deal. Listen, we got food, we're together. It's weird, but you know what? Yeah. We're there to win a championship. And I asked Rich Pilon the same question, the ex-Islander, and Rich's response, well, these guys are millionaire athletes. At the end of the day, they're there for a job, and if you're told to be in that hyperbaric chamber or that hazmat suit or in that bubble, you know what? you only got one chance to win a Super Bowl. You only got one shot. I mean, if you're Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, this might be your best shot. So some of these teams, and I agree with Patrick to a sense, yeah, they're grown men. But you know what? The flip side of it, Chris makes a good point.
No, he makes a great point. I was just thinking, out of 53-man active roster, there's going to be a couple guys that are like, nope.
And listen, they're not staying at the
multiple. Yeah, no, I picture like the budget.
They're also staying
at
a nice hotel, indoor pool, and first class this, first class that. So they're not in. Let's give them that much too. So
listen, I don't feel that bad for them. Listen, they're going to have 5-star hotel food. They're going to have room service. They're going to have all the amenities that you and I and Patrick would never have in our own homes.
I'll be honest.
I'm recording right now in my own home, and I'm like,
they miss the family.
In the room I'm in.
Oh yeah, of course. But you know what? At this point, I would say, guys, you know what? I'm staying at the hotel. I don't want to get anywhere near anybody.
Right.
I would be like, if I was the quarterback or one of the captains or something, I would say, listen, guys, that's what I'm doing. You could do what you want, but that's what I'm doing. Just to be on the safe side. I don't want to be the guy that tests positive or.
Yeah, you don't want to be that one player.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. So yeah. I'm like, I could sacrifice not seeing my family for a week or two, and if we lose, it'll be shorter. But it is what it is,
No, listen, I mean, obviously, these are going to be decisions that we're going to find out a lot more about here as we're talking all things related here to the world of the NFL. I say for another about 20, maybe 25 minutes or so here. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And, of course, alongside myself to talk all things related here to the NFL, of course, is our very dear friends, Chris Pizzea of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals Show. And, of course, you can follow the Liftoff Jets on Twitter at Liftoff Jets Talking Rivals at Talking Rivals. And, of course, Patrick Trotty, esteemed author, has a brand new book out. Please go to his Twitter at Patrick Trotty for more details. Also follow the Talking Rivals again at Talking Rivals. And of course, if you like what you hear from Sportswire Radio, please give a follow to us on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can catch all of our content on sportnarium.com/play. We have a number of new shows coming out tomorrow. I might have some new shoes on, but we have some new shows that'll be on here tomorrow, a number of them, and I'll be live also again 8 p.m. British Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time with professional wrestling referee Laura Kate. So looking forward to speaking with Laura and her journey. Always like speaking to a referee and get their side of things, because always, whether it's in wrestling, the NFL, baseball, hockey, referees are always very polarizing. And if your fan
thankless job.
Yeah, very thankless job. But if your team doesn't get that call, you're going to be very upset at those referees. And I'm going to get Laura's perspective on that for sure. She's a young referee. She just started. She's got 3 months or so in the business as a referee. So I'm going to get her perspective and ask some of those things. So I'm looking forward to that. We have a number of new shows out. I think we have, 5 shows tomorrow to play. So it'll be a very, very busy day. So that's why you want to check us out here on Sportswire Radio and sportnarium.com/play. Also want to wish a happy birthday to my mother. It's my mother's birthday today. So I want to make sure that wish her happy birthday. I think she's probably a little upset at me at the moment, but I definitely want to wish her a very happy birthday and appreciate all the love and support, and obviously appreciate everybody's support here as well, because we had a number of historic firsts here throughout 2021 with the station this past month with listenership and, of course, followers, also a new YouTube page. So I can't thank everybody enough for listening and supporting. The likes of John Gonzalez sharing, Andrew Riccadell, I see is liked, obviously a good friend of mine, of course. Andrew, I really can't still talk too much hockey because I can't get into hockey this year. I mean, it's like I'm watching it. I'd say I can't get into it, but it's like there's no flow this year. The Islanders have so many games backed up, and the Devils have games been backed up, and I'm watching the Flyers yesterday, and they've had games backed up, and everybody's backed up.
The Flyers have been playing. That might not be a bad thing.
Actually, though, before the game yesterday, though, they actually had 7 straight games at least with a point. So they actually have
for a while there. They were
since they changed coaches, they've been a different team. Yesterday, unfortunately, they played like donkey, but they've actually played a lot better. I'm an Islanders fan. For me,
I'm a couple weeks late with the hockey.
It's been a rough season between COVID and in between cancellations. This has been one of the toughest hockey seasons. And then obviously getting back into the NFL, John Gonzalez wants me to talk about the Arizona Cardinals because he wants to be reminded that he did pick the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, John, you did. So did the brute force Brad Weiss. And
we got to eat some crow on that.
We all got to eat crow because I didn't think the Arizona Cardinals were going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. I got to be honest with you. I didn't think
Kyler Murray showed me something. I mean, they stepped up. I mean, who was the receiver that had 2 touchdowns for them today? Hopkins'
Antoine
place.
Wesley.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Next man up. No, I like that. I mean, if it was AJ Green, you'd be like, oh, that's expected.
Yeah,
And
expected. I would have thought that.
DeAndre Hopkins is out, no big deal. But this next man up, that's kind of building a culture of exactly the opposite of what I said would happen. So,
hey, listen, Murray, 26 for 38, 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for 44 yards on 9 attempts. So obviously, got to give it up to Kyler Murray. This was definitely one of his better performances in a long time. I mean, so I almost have to throw it out there because, again, going back off what the Brute Force had to say, do we now look at the Cowboys and say, it's the usual Cowboys and they're pretenders? Because as crazy as it sounds, this could still be a rematch in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I mean, I was just going to ask, where does everyone stand on it? Is it pro Cardinals or is it the Cowboys being usual?
The Cowboys, listen, the Cowboys, until they win in the playoffs and get further, past this wild card round or into the championship round, I don't know. I don't trust the Cowboys. Not that I trusted the Cardinals either, but I don't trust either team, to be honest. I mean, if they play if they play in 2 weeks in the wild card round,
win.
Right? Someone's got to win. So one of them's going to get to the next round, but I don't trust them any further than that. I mean, like today, the Cowboys should have won. It's as simple as that. I mean, they have
at home. Yeah, at home, the way the Cardinals have played. I mean, the Cardinals were 3-5 in the last 8 games going in.
So if the playoffs started today, they would play again?
I believe so.
Yes, because right now the way
at Arizona now.
No, it's at Dallas because Dallas has the division
because they won the division.
Right, Dallas is the last. They're the 4 seed, so they play the best wild card team,
which is Arizona.
Yep.
And Arizona, I think, has got that clinched now. They're the best wild card, right?
They have the best wild card. Yes, because Philadelphia and San Francisco are both 9-7. The Cardinals are 11-5. So the Cardinals.
There's so many ways to go with that rematch if that holds up because they've already played. Dallas is going to be at
there's
home.
one scenario this sort of happened, and Chris is going to remember this. Chris, if you remember, at the end of the 2001 season, the Jets and Raiders, there was a quirk. The Jets and Raiders played, I think it was the last week of the regular season, and then they matched up in the playoffs. The Raiders beat the Jets the wild card week, and I think the Jets actually beat the Raiders the last week of the regular season, if I recall correctly. So this has happened before. It's not unusual.
It does,
But to my point is, as crazy as it sounds, the Cardinals did win, but I find it hard to see a team go on the road if this is going to be the matchup, that they would go into a team's place and beat them 2 of the last 3 weeks or 2 of the last 3 games they would play. You guys buy into that? Because I just kind of find it hard to think the Cowboys would lose to the Cardinals twice in their own building in a short span.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to overthink it. I'm just going to go with like what Chris was saying. I always go back to who do I trust more? Head coach, quarterback. I don't know who I trust more in that situation.
I know.
Neither coach I'm thrilled with, to say the least. Both quarterbacks are superior talents, but just consistency and
at least
proven track record. I'll go with Dallas just because, Tom, you said it. I don't see the Cardinals beating them 2 times in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
in Dallas.
And McCarthy's he's won a Super Bowl. I know he had Rodgers, but at least he's got something there. Like we've seen nothing from Kingsbury.
They haven't been in this spot though. I mean, to be fair, McCarthy, he's not the Green Bay Packers coach anymore because the second half of his run as Packers coach, he certainly struggled in the postseason. So, I mean, if you're going to play,
I'll go with the guy though that's even been there. To Chris's point, even though he's failed some more than he's succeeded.
Been there, and I think the Cowboys. When you look at them, if you put the teams side by side, I'm going to say the Cowboys are the better team, right?
I think Dak would have a small edge over Murray. Not saying much.
I mean, the Hopkins injury makes it a big deal.
Cowboys are a deeper team, though.
Yeah,
on both sides of the ball too. So, I would go with the Cowboys. I don't think they're going to go past the next round after that, but I'll give them that. And then you think about it. Next week, Dallas goes to Philly. So I don't know if that adds into the discussion of how they are going into the playoffs.
Well, Philly's playing for something too because they're playing
Absolutely.
for playoffs and they're playing for a playoff spot. I mean, it
Yep.
depends if Minnesota loses, obviously, and John Gonzalez chimes in that
Yeah.
he says Packers. Okay, fine. That would mean Philly clinches a playoff spot. But if you're Philly, I mean, you're playing for playoff position. I mean, you're the Eagles fan here, Chris. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, no, Philly's going to be playing next week. Absolutely. They can move up. They can move only up one spot, right? So right now they're lined up to play. They're the worst. So they'll play the Rams right now.
Oof.
If you're the three, if you're the third wild card, you're playing the Rams. But here's the other thing. If you're the two, you're going to play Tampa Bay. So who would you – to be honest, I think I'd rather play the Rams only because it's who do you want to play?
I'd rather take my chances with Stafford.
Right, exactly.
Stafford has never won a postseason game.
Even though the
so you're gonna
Rams
say
are
that.
super loaded and they should be,
But Stafford has never won a postseason game. That might be the one point if I'm an Eagles fan right now. I would rather face the Rams than the Bucks.
Right now it has the Patriots facing the Bills.
Yes.
4-5, yeah. Okay.
Well, Patriots-Bills, that would be Patriots-Bills round 3.
It's going to totally change, but.
Yeah.
Patriots-Bills round 3. Boy, the thriller in the Manila, to say the least. I mean, boy.
Well, no, the Bills are not going to play the Bills are going to play the worst wild card team, right? No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, the Bills are the worst.
You got the Titans.
Right, so they play the best.
Chiefs.
Right.
You got the Bengals.
Chiefs, Chargers, Bengals, Colts, Bills, Patriots.
I was looking at it the other way. Okay, you're right.
Rams, Eagles, Bucks, 49ers, Cowboys, Cardinals.
Yep.
And the Raiders of all teams, who would have guessed the Raiders right now are 9-7? They're in the mix also. Got to throw the Raiders in there as well. They're kind of hanging in there. I mean, who would have guessed that?
Against the Colts.
They've
Wait,
I don't know how they've been doing it.
Did the brute
for
force
all the adversity.
He picked them. Yeah, he did.
Right?
He picked them.
Two of them.
He got a few of them.
He also
got a few of them.
Correctly.
He actually did well. Well, he actually had one of his better weeks, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. And so we'll get his perspective.
Hear about it Friday night, sure.
Well, we'll hear about it for sure. And he's going to listen to this. Knowing him, he's going to listen to the point where we gave him credit. So he'll remember that. Trust me. He'll go back. He listens to all the shows. So I can guarantee you that he'll definitely mention that. Yeah, right now, and again, thanks to the crack staff for giving us this. Obviously, right now we're looking at it, and it will be the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Bills Patriots, the thriller in the Manila. So that's an interesting matchup, to say the least. There.
Weird how it works out the West, then the Midwest game, and the Eastern in the AFC.
And John Gonzalez has got a few more comments in here, and John's got some funny ones. I got to read them off here. Thank you, John. John's been sharing our stuff, so thank you, John, for your support as always. And John messaged me the other day. He's a big supporter of ours, so I want to make sure we recognize John Gonzalez. So if you're on Facebook, make sure you give a friend request to John Gonzalez. He has been a big supporter of us, also a veteran. And John, thank you for your service. Thank you for serving our country here. God bless you, my friend. And John says here, look, everybody is jumping on the Cowboys bandwagon just like the Bengals. He doesn't trust them. John says he thinks that the Eagles will beat Dallas next week. Very well possible. I mean, Dallas going into Philadelphia could be a point there. And John chimes in here and says that the Brute Force is a Lions fan. So I think that's kind of a subtle dig at the Brute Force. So that's a subtle dig at the Brute Force. So John certainly will make sure that the Brute Force is reminded of that. And yeah, I could see Philadelphia beating Dallas next week. You know, Chris, John Gonzalez makes a great point. For whatever reason, this Eagles team has played very well here the second half of the season in Philly. Weather, I'm going to assume, is going to be a factor here. Dallas has pretty much got nothing to play for at this point. I'm going to assume they're locked up here in this fourth spot. I don't see them moving up. I mean, yeah, I could kind of see Philly beating Dallas here for whatever reason. I don't like the matchup for Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that. Philly played not their best game today, but they just good enough to win. Yeah, I could see it, especially in it's going to be in Philly, so that's always a tough game. Philly Dallas in Philly's always tough. I could see them winning that game without a doubt. And that, like I was saying with Patrick, right now Philly's lined up to play the Rams.
Yep.
Right.
And
if they win,
right,
might get the Tampa Bay Bucks. So
And the Bucks and 49ers would be the other matchup.
Right.
The 49ers hold the tiebreaker over the Eagles. So thanks to the Crack staff for giving us that. And then obviously with the 49ers, their schedule is coming up here next week. And thanks to the Crack staff for giving us their schedule coming up here. So their schedule is they've got, the Rams next week. So obviously,
and that's big because if they lose and New Orleans, if New Orleans wins next week and if San Fran loses, I think New Orleans gets in, right?
I believe New Orleans is still alive. Correct.
Yep.
New Orleans is still alive. Yep. New Orleans is still
they're
alive.
going to want to play. And is Jimmy G coming back? I don't know. Or is it going to be Trey
I would love to see Jimmy G knock out Tom Brady in
No.
the playoffs.
Well, boy, that'll be something.
sure Jimmy
I know,
G
and
wants to
I'm
do that
preaching to
too.
Patriot fans to
And
get rid of
speaking
Tom
of
Brady
people
out of their mind.
who are watching,
That's one thing.
I'm sure that they're looking to gloat about their historic week on picks. Is the Brute Force Brad Weiss? He is watching here. I see him now
Oh,
popped
yeah.
up on the Facebook page, and obviously I'm assuming Brad is going to give some comments here because he's certainly watching and he's always got something to say. Yeah, looking at the matchups here again. What I will say now that we're looking at the playoff picture, it's now much more clearer now. In the NFC, we only have two teams left. That is the Saints and Vikings. And the AFC
first couple of
side,
seeds are pretty much locked.
it's all
in.
locked up here.
Yeah.
And the Brute Force has jumped in here and he says, John Gonzalez, I'm definitely not a Lions fan. And now the Brute Force has chimed in here and says, how about them Cowboys with kind of a laughing point? Yeah, so he's he's happy, the Brute Force.
Yes. I figured that.
Yeah.
Hey, good for him, man. And he had the siren going too, so he was.
Yeah, no, we were talking off the air actually yesterday, and he's got a few other things planned. So we'll see how if they come up for Friday's show. And just on the AFC side, to give it a little more clearer for those who might be curious, the only teams that are left right now that are alive at the moment are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, the Brute Force is Pittsburgh Steelers, still alive mathematically. The Baltimore Ravens, for what it's worth, and the Las Vegas Raiders. And now the teams that are also added to the mix of being eliminated are our Denver Broncos, Atlanta Falcons, Cleveland Browns, and the Miami Dolphins, who could not make history there. So they came up a little short in their efforts to make a great comeback and get into the postseason, but they no longer control their own destiny. And John Gonzalez kind of goes back and forth here with the Brute Force, and I'm going to read it off because they're both looking at us here. He says here, just kidding about the Lions, the Brute Force, and then the Brute Force, he's going in with him saying we both had the Cardinals. So now John Gonzalez is trying to play peacemaker here. So obviously let those two kind of figure that out here. So it's good that people are tuned in here. They're definitely liking what we have to say here. And then I will add it here going into the mix here with these games coming up. I mean, what are you guys looking forward to then watching for the last week of the season? What are some games that you guys have in mind that maybe we haven't mentioned?
For next week?
Yeah, for next week. Because obviously we got Monday night is Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Tonight we have Green Bay and Minnesota going on here still. So, I mean, that's the only two games left for this week. And then next week we have a doubleheader on Saturday. And then we have our Sunday night game is the last one, and that's it. So we're pretty much this is the last week of the season. So what games are you guys looking forward to? I'm sure Patrick, I know his answer, Patriots, Dolphins. And
other than that,
Bills,
49ers,
Jets,
Rams.
Would Bills, Jets you be looking forward to, Patrick? Because that could mean something.
Look, Jets, Jets.
Here's a question. Here's a good question. What game do you think gets on Sunday night?
Ooh, which game gets flexed?
I think the Rams. The Rams, the
49ers.
I think so, right?
What about Dallas and Philadelphia? Philadelphia always is a night game. That's always historically been the Sunday night game. And that would be one game on my mind.
Definitely not Washington Giants, right?
Oh, please. No more.
Chargers, Raiders.
Who's alive there? Oh, they're both alive, right?
They're both alive, but it's not like a.
Is it mathematically though? Would one be in over the other? It's a possibility. I mean,
they're both 9-7.
Well, we'll know tomorrow, right? If Pittsburgh's still alive.
Yes,
so
correct.
They're still alive. They play at Baltimore, and Baltimore's still alive.
Oh yes, Baltimore is still alive.
Please don't tell me they're going to do Baltimore.
I'm
Pittsburgh.
just saying they love putting Pittsburgh, Baltimore on Sunday night also. So
no more.
I know, I agree, but I'm
good.
just saying there's a possibility there.
I don't need Big Ben's final farewell.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. there's definitely a bunch of good games here. So
There's
Chiefs,
like 3 or 4
Broncos.
that we mentioned
Chiefs,
that could be the
Broncos.
flex game. Yeah.
Chiefs Broncos, would you throw that in the mix? I mean, Chiefs are still playing for something theoretically. I mean, Cowboys Eagles to me screams
Cowboys
like
Eagles makes sense. Yeah.
that screams to me that's the game because Philly's playing for something. Dallas. It's a marquee matchup. It's, two teams that are kind of national. I mean, that kind of screams to me. 49ers Rams is a good one because that might mean something as well, depending on what happens here with Minnesota.
not the best matchup, but New Orleans, Atlanta. New Orleans might be a lot too, right?
No.
New Orleans, you really want to put a 7
No,
New Orleans team?
I just
give the
watched
NFL any
Atlanta today
ideas,
because I'm in
man.
the Buffalo market. You don't want to watch them.
All right, so let's say it's
You really
between the Dallas Philly game and the Rams.
I could say New England, Miami also. I mean, that's a competent matchup. If you want to throw that out there, I mean,
but only one team is alive, right? The other ones, at least you got.
There's 4 games that both teams are alive in. So
let's read those off. We have Chargers Raiders 4:25 p.m. That screams to me because of the markets, Los Angeles, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That screams like a flex game. 49ers Rams definitely screams flex game. Cowboys Eagles screams flex game for me.
Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
Which I kind of wanted to glance over, but yeah, theoretically, yeah.
If Pittsburgh loses tomorrow, we don't have to worry about that game.
Exactly.
Right? So
then I'm rooting for Cleveland.
Right.
And John Gonzalez, I'm definitely rooting
Ben.
for Cleveland. I'm with the brute force on this.
Sorry,
John Gonzalez chimes in. He's got a funny joke here. I got to read it off here. It looks like the Dolphins were eaten by the Sharks today. Yeah, they definitely did. The Dolphins met their match. The Tennessee Titans definitely. The Dolphins Cinderella story definitely ran out of luck. Yeah, those are some games. You know what? Originally, I would have said Cowboys and Eagles, but I think I'd rather see the 49ers and the Rams. And the brute force Brad Weiss has another comment in here. Let me see what he has to say here. He's got another comment. Yep. Here we go. I got to read this one off. Now, we're getting good here now. People are definitely tuned in here. He says, Brad says here, I know you're kidding, John Gonzalez. I told you the Cowboys and everybody else that they would go down. Also, he said with my upsets, the Dolphins would win, but they embarrassed me. But as he points out here, Chris, the Raiders got me a nice win. And he also wants to talk about the Jets' effort here. He says that he's proud of the Jets' effort here today, very proud about it. And he thinks that the brute force thinks, this is what he's saying, so this is a prelude for Friday shows. That's why if you tune here now, you're going to definitely want to catch us here Friday night, 9:30 p.m. So the brute force is definitely a good salesman. He's a good promoter. He definitely knows that why we're in the wrestling business because he's making sure that we have a tease here. And he says that the upset siren is going to be very active coming up here this Friday.
Wow.
So he's saying he's got some upsets.
It's a tough week to go because you don't know who's playing for something, who's, what teams have checked out, Maybe they're mailing it in the last week. You never know. But
you know what? Something tells me, and I don't want to give anything away here, and I'm certainly not going to bring up Washington and the Giants as my upset special, but something tells me that the Jets are going to give the Bills a game. I know my friend Daniel Slavin messaged me and said, the Bills are going to blow out the Jets, but something tells me here that I think the Jets are going to give the Bills a game. That's going to be one of the games I'm going to be pointing out here. And John Gonzalez also chimes in here and says he's proud of the Jets' performance as well, and they put up a fight. So maybe that's a prelude. Another game that I'm going to look at here, believe it, I'm going to go on a limb here and say it could be an upset special here also. Titans-Texans. I just think for whatever reason, I like the way the Texans have played down the stretch. So that could be one game. The Titans have a lot to play for there as well. So I think there's a number of games that I could say.
I wonder if we'll see Derrick Henry play because they did say he might be back by the end of the year.
I think you'd have to wait until you really need him in the playoffs.
But do you want him to
give those extra 2 weeks?
Back? You want him to be in the playoffs, his first game back in 2 months?
If at the very least it just stacks an extra man in the box, his presence.
That's true.
Even if he goes out and does 3 carries for 5 yards.
Right, it's just something, right?
It's just his presence alone.
Well, the crack staff has given us what Coach Mike Vrabel has said about Derrick Henry. So let's read it off here. Thanks to the crack staff, and he says here that the plan is going to be where is he at, quote unquote. And each individual player, can they do their job effectively? Can they make it worse? And can they protect themselves out there? He then adds, it's a violent game. We don't want to put guys out there that can't go out there and protect themselves or they can make it worse. So I don't know.
The more coaches
what does that mean?
I don't know where to go with this. I mean, I'll read it out again in case anybody else wants to chime in. We have a few people I know that are watching us on Facebook.
If
And
anybody
again,
wants to translate that.
Yeah,
here's
please.
the comments
I have no
again.
idea what he just said.
I know I have some people on here watching on Facebook, so I'll hang on here till as long as I have people tuned in. He says, again, Coach Mike Vrabel, I think the plan is always going to be, where is he at? And each individual player, can they do their job effectively? Can they make it worse? And can they protect themselves out there? It's a violent game. We don't want to put guys out there that can't go out there and protect themselves, or they can make it worse. So anybody else out there have a thought? I mean, very bizarre, just bizarre situation.
Basically, if he's not strong enough and he's going to get hurt right away, like,
I mean, the key is the make it worse part, I think.
yeah.
So, like, if Derrick Henry, if the doctors say you're 75% healthy,
Right.
but there's no way you can make it worse right now by playing,
Right. That's
he's probably out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I agree. I think that's it. I think that's exactly what. Yeah, that makes the most sense.
I read it as if he's not playing. That's what.
Yeah, I would hold him out, but
I would think they're going to hold him out until the playoff game, and that's when they'll be like, okay, let's see where he's at. Give him 2.
But let me ask you a question though.
If they win, they get the bye week.
That was going to be my question to you. Do you guys value the bye week and say, you know what?
Oh,
do you want him in there then?
But then you're taking the chance of him going out there rolling his ankle or something.
No, I wouldn't. No, you know what? It's against the Texans. Not that I'm taking them lightly, but I'm gonna gamble that we should be good enough without Derrick Henry to beat the Texans. We'll go in, we'll get that bye, we'll get the extra week. So we'll give him an extra week to get better, and then we'll make that final decision going into the playoff game that week. It'll be a game time decision, maybe. Maybe he'll practice a little bit.
I think if you hold him out, which makes sense to me because it's the Texans, so
yeah,
it's not a guaranteed win, but you should be able to win if you're going for the number 1 seed. But if you're going to hold him out, then the theory has to be you have to play in the playoffs.
Right.
I don't want to hear this. We're holding you out in our final week game. We give you the extra 2 weeks off, and then you're like, nah, I can't really do it in the divisional round.
I would have been interesting. And an interesting decision would have been if they were playing for the division this weekend, coming up. Like if the division was still up in the air and they didn't have the number 1 seed on the horizon. Like if they were in the mix there and, if the Colts win and we lose, I wonder if then he would play. But I think that's exactly it. You know what? Give him the extra week to rest up, and then let's see what happens in the playoffs,
And before we get out of here, I do want to bring up the Giants because there was some stats I put out there, and I do want to read them off here in case it changes anyone's minds or anybody that watches this or listens to this on the replay, because we'll replay the show also on sportnarium.com/player overnight here. So I want to read off here Ralph Vacciano's tweet here. The first one here, he says, it's embarrassing. It's not NFL football. Why, when I reported 3 weeks ago, Joe Judge was expected to return next year as Giants head coach, I didn't say it was definitive, but some wondered what happens if things gets worse. Well, it got worse. At what point does John Mara fire everyone? Then he goes on to say the last 5 games, Giants have been outscored 141-49, and that includes 2 touchdowns when it didn't matter against the Chargers. So it's more like 141 to like 35. They had 151 yards of offense today, total. 343 yards the last 2 games, total. Net passing yards the past 2 games, 98, including minus 10 today. Minus 10. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, after reading all that stuff that SNY, of course, Giants reporter Ralph Vacciano gives us, can Joe Judge come back?
No.
He can't. And here's the thing. I was asking, I don't know who I sent the text out, but how can the Giants justify bringing him back after the way they've played the last half of this year? It looks like they're giving up on this guy. How can you say, oh, we're bringing him back 1 more year? I understand bringing back Daniel Jones. I get that, right? Because he's been hurt most of this year, and who knows? And you still got another year with him anyway. So I could see bringing him back. But Joe Judge, there's no way they could justify it. They have to clean house, get a new GM in, and just start over. Right? I mean, how can you as Mara,
Look
right?
who they've been playing with, though. Look at, and I know injuries are a part of football. I get that.
Yeah, but you
But
gotta play. You gotta play though. You gotta play hard. I mean, look at the Jets. They've been decimated by injuries all year.
Yeah, I feel like the
Going
Jets,
out
the
there.
last month of the season, you've walked away and said, you know what? They didn't quit. This Giants team, they've been totally unwatchable. I mean, it is abominable. I mean, I have to say, and I've been a Giants defender here throughout the season. I'll own up to it. As the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportzwire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, I have said, I've come on me, they've been not that bad. Their defense, they play well, they try.
The defense has played okay.
But the last 5
I
weeks,
get that. I'm just saying, like, they didn't have
unacceptable. This is unacceptable. The last 4 or 5 games with this team, it's unacceptable. I mean, they're not watchable. I mean, how do you bring a guy back?
Look at
the way this team is played.
Look at the Saints. The Saints is another team. They're down to their 3rd or 4th string quarterback, and they're still playing hard.
They got 8 wins. They're alive. I mean, listen, they're alive.
They had Kamara out for most of the year, and that guy's their whole offense this year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the Giants, and look at the Giants. Outside of their quarterback, they've had some injuries at wide receiver, but they still had
I hate
guys out there.
I hate to say it, but do you think the only reason Joe Judge could come back again is the fact that they've got the 2 draft picks? And they're going to say, you know what? We're getting the draft picks. We're getting help.
I think
the way Mara operates, I think he's loyal to a fault. And I think that he wants definitive proof that with Jones and Judge, 100%, no excuses, what's going to happen. I can tell you what's most likely going to happen.
Right.
But I think Mara needs one more year to see definitively fully healthy Saquon, fully healthy Evan Ingram, Tony, all those guys, and Jones. What can Judge do?
I can understand Jones.
I don't know.
I'm
just trying to do, the opposite. Just trying to be devil's advocate. But
and John Gonzalez has got a number of things he wants to say on the Giants, and he says the Giants are a train wreck. Yeah, pretty much. Mara is a terrible owner. I mean, I don't want to say somebody's a terrible owner. I mean, it's unfair for me to say that unless you know something that you want to share as to why he's a terrible owner. I wouldn't put him in the Dolans or Fred Wilpons category, just that they have won Super Bowls. But I will bring up your point and says, how on earth could you bring back Joe Judge? Team quit on him. I don't know if the team's quit on him. They're just not any good. I mean, hard for me to say if they've quit on him. They've just been unwatchable. And he says, how is Mike Glenn an NFL quarterback? Well, I mean.
Well, that's another guy. Those are 2 separate things.
That's a Dave
Gettleman. The other thing,
point.
too, I think the only reason why he's coming back, if he does come back, I don't think he is, but another reason why is because they got rid of who was the guy before him?
For Joe Judge, Pat Shurmur?
Before Shurmur.
McAdoo?
He wasn't here. Shurmur was only here 2 years also, right?
Right.
And then the guy before that was here, 3 years?
McAdoo?
Yeah, McAdoo. What? Or was he there?
I think Shurmur was here for 2 years, I want to say. And then
they gave one of them 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
I think Shurmur got the 3. And you're right. McAdoo got the 2.
Yeah,
right. McAdoo got the 2. And then we're in the second year of Judge, and I think, and the crack staff will look it up here either way. Regardless, we'll look that up here. A number of different things I do want to read off here.
Think about this. After Coughlin, McAdoo lasted less than 2 years because Spagnuolo coached.
Shurmur lasted 2.
2, and now Judge is only 2, and I think that's where he's probably
2 years. Yep.
He's probably inside. He's probably embarrassed. What are we going to do? We're gonna get rid of our 3rd coach here since Coughlin. And Coughlin left on bad terms as well, if you remember. That press conference didn't even shake his hand, if you remember that whole thing.
Yeah.
So they're doing bad. I mean, the Giants.
And I got some stats. I gotta read them off here before we get out of here. I mean, they're funny in a sense because it's the Giants, and it's very funny. But Mike Glennon finished 4 for 11 for 24 yards. And thanks, Ralph Facciano, for the tweet here. 4 for 11, 24 yards. Fewest completions for a Giants QB since Joe Pisarcik, who was 3 for 10 in a win October the 22nd, 1978. And he said the Giants' 24 passing yards were the fewest they've had 24 again in a win, December 10th, 1978. Were the Giants good in 78? Because they had two stats here that occurred in 78, and they both were in wins. So that's bizarre, to say the least here. And
I think they were really, really bad.
Well, they won those two games, so apparently something happened here. And NFL draft order here, which I do want to bring up here for those who are scoring here. Jacksonville's number one, obviously. Strength of schedule is 522. Detroit's second. The Brute Forces Detroit Lions. Hardy har har. 2-13-1. The Houston Texans 4-12 are third. Our Jets are fourth. Giants are fifth, 4-12. We have the Carolina Panthers sixth, 5-11. The Jets, thanks to Seattle, seventh. The Giants, thanks to the Bears, eighth. And then we have 9th and 10th, Washington, and then Atlanta over Denver in a tie because of strength of schedule. So that's our top 10 right now. And Jets and Giants are 4 of those picks out of 5, from 4 to 8. So that's the.
I think, real quick, I think Kenny Pickett to Carolina is almost inevitable.
Yeah, Carolina needs a quarterback.
Yeah, Carolina, I think it's not working.
I mean, any higher, I don't think anyone's going to pull the trigger on Kenny Pickett higher than that.
And right. Gonzalez brings up here, McAdoo took him to the playoffs. Yeah, I think that was 16.
They went 11-5 in his first year.
Went to the wild card and lost in Green Bay.
And then they went 3-13.
On the boat, and they haven't been since.
Yep.
And then here's John Gonzalez's crazy idea. And I almost have to, because we have some college guys here, and I'm sort of a college guy. I know enough about the game to talk about it here, but it's a crazy one here before we get out of here. I have to throw it out here because somebody's going to want to hear this. He said the Giants should throw a ton of cash at Jim Harbaugh. Is that a pipe mic drop here or what?
I don't think you know how much money you'd have to throw at him though?
I've heard of crazier things.
Because I'm just saying the money that you would have to throw at Jim Harbaugh to get him to leave Michigan, because Michigan's paying him like $10 million a year.
I'm thinking if you're going to go down the college
how
route,
much he has to.
What about somebody, he hasn't been performing as well, so you could probably poach him for a little less. Guy from Stanford, David Shaw.
I would stay away from college coaching.
You know what, though? I feel like, in a sense, it's almost like the situation with the Mets manager, right? And David Shaw, I hear what you're saying, and it kind of makes sense. But I think if you're going to bring in a college coach, you're going to have to go big. I mean, you're going to have to. It's like with the Mets. I remember we talked about the Mets. Oh, they got to do this. They got to do that. And they almost had to go with Showalter. They couldn't go with the young guy who didn't have experience, or even an Ausmus who was a middle of the road.
If I'm a Giant fan, though, I don't want to retread. Not saying Showalter's a retread. I'm just saying that. I don't
he is a retread. Showalter is a retread.
I don't want a college coach. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
But Harbaugh's an asterisk, though. He did take the 49ers to a Super Bowl. To be fair, it's an
asterisk. At Chris's point, it would take a lot of money.
A lot. I'm talking a lot. And did you see really quick?
I would say the Gruden deal is the baseline.
Yeah.
With 10-year, $100 million.
Well, how about Doug Peterson? Would you want Doug Peterson? Would you guys take Doug Peterson?
I like him because he's from Philly. I get it. But he's a proven winner. So I know he did bad the last year where him and Wentz just kind of fell apart. But if you go by,
I'd rather think ahead and get a guy that, even though he might not have been a head coach yet, I'd rather go with that trend of like the quarterback guru, offensive coordinator somewhere, and plug him in and hope they catch lightning in a bottle with Daniel Jones.
I feel like you got it. If you're the Giants, and again,
you want stability, and
I want a proven winner.
Okay. That's what I think. I think Peterson would be good. I think because he's won a Super Bowl, he's coached here in this area, he's got a winning record. I think he'd handle the media well.
Absolutely.
I think he commands a room. I think he's got good experience. I see what John Gonzalez is saying. He chimes in, well, he did a good job with the 49ers. Yeah, but you know what? I kind of think I want a guy who's recently coached in the NFL. I mean, I know Harbaugh had a good year at Michigan this year, and he finally got the big win. But you know what? I think I want a Super Bowl winning coach. I want a guy, and there aren't too many of them out there at this point that are around. I mean, how many coaches are out there? You could say, you know what? They've won a Super Bowl, and I trust them, and I would want them in New York, in this market. I mean, I think there are very few coaches, and really the name out there is Doug Peterson. I mean, that's the guy that I probably want to take a shot with. I mean, who else would be out there if you make the move?
Here's the other thing too. Like if you're either Doug Peterson or one of the big offensive coordinators coming out as well, either Leftwich or Bieniemy, just to name a few guys. If you're one of those guys is the Giants a job that's, looking really good to you? Or is it like, you know what, that's such a...
Well, you got 2 draft picks. I mean, you do have the 2 draft picks in the top 10.
All the guys that I would mention they haven't done it before. So
would you look at, like, if you're looking at that spot, like, what other jobs are going to be open this year? They're going to be open, and obviously Jacksonville. Does Jacksonville look like a better spot to you than the Giants right now?
No.
To me, the Jaguars do, because the Jaguars are more...
I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones to start
But
with.
I got 2 draft picks, and I'm New York. If I go to Jacksonville, I'm in that market. Yes, I got the number 1 pick. I got Lawrence, but that's a franchise that hasn't won anything.
Right, but also your cap position is in a lot better position.
Fair,
a lot better.
that's fair.
You know what I mean? The Giants, they don't have much movement to make. So
they have no movement.
Right.
The Jets have cap, the Giants don't have much.
They can't sign a bunch of guys and get better.
A dark horse candidate that was knocking on the door close with the Chargers before this past hire is the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator, Brian Dable. What he's done with Josh Allen. I know he hasn't been a head coach.
Him going to Jacksonville makes a lot of sense.
Let me throw one more curveball before we get out of here and get closing thoughts. And I'm going to throw this out there. I don't know what you guys are going to think about it, but if the Raiders change coaches, and there's been talk about that, the Raiders right now are in a position, and they could make the postseason. So who knows what happens? Even if they make the postseason, they might make a change. And I'm going to throw it out there, and I don't even know if anybody's thinking about it, but would you take a look at the Raiders coach, considering the job that he's done, regardless of how they finish up next Sunday? Would you take a look at, that guy really inherited a really, really difficult situation, and the Raiders didn't fold. They've hung in there, and they got themselves in a position where they could still make the postseason. I mean, would any of you, or even anybody watching this, consider the Raiders coach maybe as a possibility?
You know what? Just being honest, I don't know enough about him that I would say, okay, he's definitely good or definitely bad. Just looking at the last few games, he's I agree. He's done an amazing job between everything that's gone down after Gruden.
What did he coach before this? Was he the special teams guy, or was he the line coach?
I forgot. Maybe the DC? No.
So I know he wasn't an offensive coordinator. It wasn't like a flashy.
Right.
Because it seems like most of the guys that are going to be first-time head coaches coming up are offensive.
He was special teams with the Raiders the past 3 years before this year.
Okay.
And prior to that, he was also a special teams coordinator with the Cowboys, Chargers, Bucks. He also was the assistant head coach this season before he was named the interim. So that's his experience. He's essentially, this is his 20th year in the NFL, 38th in coaching. So, I mean, he's got a little bit of experience, inherited a very difficult situation. No matter what happens, he's got a winning record. Again, very bizarre situation. Had a number of things on the field, off the field. What happened with Gruden? Very, very horrific thing also. And he took this team, and they might make the postseason.
I mean, if it's up to him or Peterson, I'm taking Peterson. But
I would agree with you on that. But let's say Peterson goes to Jacksonville. Is that a guy that you say, you know what? Maybe I look at this guy and say, you know what? He handled adversity.
I think he's worked his way to at least get an interviews for the Giants.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you got to remember,
you got to bring him in and do your due diligence and see if he can command the room when you give him the interview.
There's also guys like you said, Dable. You got
Leftwich.
Yeah, Leftwich.
I mean,
Josh McDaniels is always going to be talked about.
Would you guys want Caldwell? He's still out there. He's interviewing.
That's a possibility because he's a guy that has to come in. Right, Todd Bowles is another one.
Todd Bowles back in New York. How ironic.
It's a possibility. Right?
Boy, that would be ironic. Boy, the irony of that one. And John Gonzalez has got a few things here before we get out of here. I have to bring it up because John is always listening. He says Peterson is his second choice for Giants coach. Okay, that's fair. He says Giants first and foremost need a GM. Yes, I think we've been talking about that. We've been beating the drum, John, on that for at least 6 or 7 weeks. And for John Gonzalez also, he would say he would seriously consider for GM John Dorsey, Mike Tannenbaum, Mr. T, as Mike Francesa would refer to him, and Louis Riddick. Yeah, I think Louis Riddick, I just like Louis Riddick. There's something about him. I think he's a good football man. I hear him speak. I feel like he commands a room. I feel like he's a solid guy. He's a leader. I like him. I think that's a good one. And he says Todd Bowles is awful. Well, as Jets coach, he ended awful, but the first year he was good. So to be
He wasn't-
There's
fair,
only, I mean, there are
He
candidates
wasn't
for a
in good
reason. I
hands
hate
either,
to
let's
say
be
it.
honest.
that's my point. That's why I could see Bowles getting a shot here. And the brute force is back here first. The brute force is alive, and the brute force chimes in. He thinks that the Raiders should retain their head coach and make him the permanent coach, which I think is fair. I definitely, Brad, agree with you on that. If you're going to keep him, you should definitely keep him because considering that situation, but they
And
haven't
maybe
committed
not lock
him.
him up to a long term, but give him a 1 or 2 year kind of just build
I don't
on
think
what
you'll
you've
give
done.
1-year deals in the NFL as a
2
coach.
years.
You have to give him 2. I think that's
Yeah.
the way it works in this league. You give him, I think, a 2-year deal. I would be okay with that. Brad, I would be okay with that. We can certainly talk about that on Friday's show. I mean, but again, interesting kind of quandary there the Raiders have put themselves into because they haven't committed to keeping him. And yet, I think he's 4-3 as coach. So he's done a good job. I think he's done a
Right,
very,
yeah,
very
no,
good
considering
job.
what he got given to him for sure. But yeah, but I don't know if he's going to be because. And what about the Texans? Are the Texans set on Tully?
I think Cully's got to get another year based on what they've done.
Well, I almost have to throw the wild card out there, and this is my fault for bringing it up there. I'm going to get lynched for this for sure on Friday's show. Matt Nagy might as well be coaching himself for one more shot. I mean,
Yeah,
Stranger things have happened. I'm not going to ever doubt it, but he shouldn't be back. No,
he shouldn't be back. But you know what? I mean, if they win next week against the Vikings, win their last 3 games, we see it all the time. Guy might get one more crack. Maybe you look at it and
look,
say, you know what?
we've seen stranger things happen with retreads, like guys getting. That guy got a second job as a head coach. So why
I mean,
not give
Nagy's
Nagy
record is
another
better
year?
than some of these guys that are going to get shots. That's why he might get the shot. And actually, the Raiders coach, Rich Bass, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm just going to say the Raiders interim head coach. He's actually 6-5. So 6-5, you know what?
It's track record.
no, that's not bad at all.
You got a shot. I mean, I tell you what. I mean, no matter what, he's going to come away from it. He's a contender for something.
Right,
I don't know.
at least he'll get an interview somewhere. He won't be jobless next year if he's not.
Oh,
the head
somebody will pick him up. There's no
even
question.
as the special teams coach, like what he was with the Raiders. Somebody will pick him up. They'll know, hey, this guy, he's a good
But
coach.
it's going to be interesting. I know that next Sunday we're not going to be live at this time. It's going to be somewhere. I want to do it after the playoffs have been determined. Then we can talk about who's going and who's out. And then Friday, maybe we'll talk about some of those coaches that may or may not come back. Because there may be a few of them. And Matt Nagy, I can guarantee you, is going to be part of that discussion. And I'm going to make sure that we spend as much time possible on Mr. Joe Judge. And I think the Brute Force, Brad Weiss, has come in here because he's ready. The Brute Force is fired up. He should have joined us on the stream here tonight. He had no games. But he says here, no, Tom Bryce. Matt Nagy equals Adam Gase. Would you go that far? I mean,
yeah, I don't know if it's that bad, but
I don't know, man. I don't know if I go that far. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to be on the Matt Nagy fan club though. So
no, but
neither would I. But
he came from. Think about where he came from, though. He came from Andy Reid, right? He coached under Andy Reid.
He's got a winning record as a head coach. I mean, if he wins, I'm just saying.
Where did Gase come from? Who did he coach under? Was it Schottenheimer with the Broncos? No, that was too far. Who was?
Thanks to the crack staff for giving us this here. We're actually looking at Mr. Adam Gase now. Certainly, Mr. Gase, who has
served as an assistant for Steve Mariucci.
Okay.
He was with the Broncos 2013, 2014, the offensive coordinator. He was also with the Broncos as a wide receivers coach, quarterbacks coach.
So John Fox.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a name way back.
We haven't heard John Fox in a while.
There's another guy, kind of old. He had I was gonna say that does make me feel John
He
Fox
was hired for his first NFL job up by Steve Mariucci with the Lions.
Steve Mariucci with the Lions. Oh my God. God help us. God help us.
Mooch getting a little.
I always felt that Steve Mariucci for our college basketball fans was like the Fran Fraschilla of announcers almost. They look the same, they got the same look. I mean, but I would say
I can't unsee that now.
Same look, right? Exactly.
Same look. I mean, the only difference is the Mooch is from Michigan and Fascilla's off Avenue U, but it's the same same type of look. But that's all I'll say here. But let's see if the brute force you feel any differently. And John Gonzalez now is convinced on the Raiders coach. So you know what, John Gonzalez now we've won him over. But I just listen. What's that?
Bisaccia?
Yep, Bisaccia.
He might be from Avenue U too.
We can look him up. He might be. You know what? There's a lot of people on Avenue U that I know. We're gonna look that up. And John Gonzalez wants a. He's from Yonkers, close enough. So I'm gonna say if he's from Yonkers, he's probably from Eastchester. If you're from Yonkers, you're probably from Eastchester, somewhere in that area. We're actually looking at it here. Yeah. Well, he was in Yonkers. Yeah, he went to school in Connecticut, which Yonkers, for those who know Connecticut, Yonkers and Greenwich are like the next town over. So that makes sense. And John Gonzalez here says, Dan Reeves, may he rest in peace. Yes, we did a eulogy on Dan Reeves. I did a whole thing on that. We all did. Yes, Dan Reeves was a good football man. Certainly thoughts and prayers on that. So obviously a lot to dive into. We've given you so many things to build off on for Friday's show. Friday's show you are not going to want to miss. I can assure you for that 9:30 p.m. We're going to talk who's on the hot seat, who's not, your playoff scenarios, the brute force's upset specials. I'm sure Justin Gianelli will give some thoughts in there. Maybe we'll be joined by Kyle Christopher. Who knows who else? So I'm looking forward to Friday's show. We have a very busy show in store here for Sportswire Radio. I have a number of live shows. I'll be on live, I think, at least 5 times. I got a message, I think, now from John Jay College. We'll have some work with them, so they're back with us. And obviously, a number of different stuff that'll be planned. I've announced some already on Friday's show. So you know what? Obviously, I'm going to go right into it. And let's see. You know what? I actually got another comment in here. You know what? I might want to throw in the brute force in here. Nope, the brute force is... Yep. Nope. He's just agreed. He's agreed. The brute force actually agrees. Now he agrees on Friday. So that's the comment. That's the comment. So I'm glad that was easy. So, but I want to give some closing thoughts here to everybody. Anything you guys want to plug? I'll go with Patrick first. Patrick, anything you want to share? Anything talking Rivals related I should know about and airing a show? Anything else you want to say Patriots related? Also, sorry on Notre Dame yesterday. I fell for you watching the Notre Dame game yesterday. I was pulling for you. I do have to say that
they're going to lose by 2 or 3. I
they
don't
lost
want to be right,
but you won some money if that was the case. But anything you want to share, my friend, anything else on your mind, please plug all social media. I can't thank you enough, and the floor is yours.
Thank you as always, Tom, for everything you do. It's been fun. It's a good start to the new year. And you can find me at Patrick Trotty on Twitter. You can find Chris and I at Talking Rivals on Twitter. We'll be coming out with a new show tomorrow. To be determined what it's going to be on, but it'll be out tomorrow. Really selling high there. It'll probably be heavy. We're going to get Ernest Dove on hopefully this month. I'll reach out to him and we'll do a prospects thing. But we were thinking probably heavy on trivia and just, maybe some hypotheticals, throw out a couple of hot takes and see.
Hall of Fame vote, though. Hall of Fame vote.
Yeah, that's always a great debate.
That's a big one.
And so I actually
we'll get that to you tomorrow.
I actually like.
I look forward to it.
I like Justin's idea for his show too. The
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, for each team, we could definitely do that. I hate to do exactly what he's doing, but
why don't you also go on milestones? I mean, there are certain players that are closing in on 500 home runs.
Name is coming up on a big one. Cabrera.
Well, Cabrera's going to have a bunch of them by the time he's 50. I mean, he's going to.
Cabrera might be one of only 7 players
that have
500 home runs, 3,000 hits,
2,000 RBIs is going to be
2,000 RBIs.
Yeah, he's.
So we'll have a new show tomorrow, and then just plugging away and seeing what the Patriots do, and hopefully the Dolphins don't determine their season.
Well, I'll throw it out there one more time. I mean, if there's anything you want to do in the future, Talking Rivals to go live on the dials.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm happy to, if there's milestones and stats, I'm happy to jump in. I mean, if you want to talk, I mean, there's a number of guys I could think of off the list in terms of accomplishments and Hall of Fame debate. I mean, people always like that stuff. So if there's anything I can do to promote the brand and promote the dial with that, okay, I'm happy to put that out there. Floor will always be there for you guys.
We had a great time with the Met show.
Yeah,
a lot of people listened. We had I think 200 or 300 listeners just for that. So that's a lot of people.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, people listen. I think we had Friday was about almost 200 listeners with all the all the dials, all the radio and the YouTube and the Twitter and Facebook. So yeah, people like that stuff. There's always somebody that likes that conversation. So listen, whatever I can do, I'm looking forward to it. And obviously, good luck to our Patriots as well. I'm looking forward to speaking Patriots Dolphins on Friday as well. And I can't wait to hear the Talking Rivals. I'll probably play it tomorrow night at some point because I'm on the air from 3 to probably close to 5. So we'll play Monday night, and I look forward to hearing it as well throughout the week. Chris, my friend, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to share, Liftoff Jets, anything else on your mind? And I can't thank you enough. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Tom, for everything you do. Thank you for the support of the shows. You can find me at CP7NY, at Talking Rivals with Patrick. Tomorrow, new show, big show tomorrow. And of course, the Liftoff Jet show will be coming. I think I'm going to talk to Sharman, but maybe we could get Patrick on this week because he's a big Buffalo Bills guy, and we're playing the Bills, so he'll help us.
Game.
Yeah, so he'll help us preview the game that way. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy ending to this year, the NFL season. I can't wait for the playoffs to start because we were just talking about it. There's no perfect team in the league right now. So it's, there are better teams than others, obviously, but any team is beatable out there. So anything could happen in this playoff. I think more than any other postseason we've seen for a long time where every team is going to go in there with a shot to get to the Super Bowl. May not be as good as a shot as, say, Green Bay or Kansas City, but I think everybody's got some kind of a shot if they play their game and they could beat that team. It's definitely going to be an interesting year for sure. Playoff postseason year.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. I'm very much looking forward to the last week of the regular season. Also, again, we'll make the announcement on Friday. Should have figured out a date and time. But during the middle of the week or early next week, once all of the scenarios are determined, we'll do an NFL recap show and get everybody for Wild Card Weekend. So really excited about that. So we'll get some of the gang on there as well. And John Gonzalez also chimes in. Last comment for the night, John. He says here he's got his picks ready for Friday. So, John, listen, you give us a cliffhanger. I like John. I like the wrestling tease there where you're giving us the cliffhanger almost. So
he's got to call in. Tell John's got to call in.
I've asked him to. I've asked him to
call in.
Well, John, Chris is calling you out. You almost got to call in.
I think it adds to the mysterious nature. just tweeting out on Facebook.
You know what? I gotta be honest before I go, and I'm gonna get again lynched for this because I do get a lot of my friends that want to call in, but sometimes it's hard to get a lot of people in when you do a show like this because there might be 5 or 6 people that might want to jump in, but then you have to be able to put them and give them equal time. I know when I was doing it in the summer with the Pinstripe Chronicles guys, I get like 3 or 4 of my friends to call in, and I'd have Rob Maraska, and it's like, okay, well, I've got to fit everybody in and still be able to cover and talk about different things. You have a Facebook crowd, you have a Twitter crowd, you have other people on the radio side of it, so it's kind of tough. But look, anybody can call in. Obviously, John, you're always welcome to. John and I have spoken about that off the air. So whatever anybody wants to. The Brute Force has even got people on YouTube checking us out. So we'll figure it out. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, everybody enjoy your evening. If you're out there tomorrow on the road, stay safe. I know we're getting snow here in the tri-state area already, so it was warm today, but expect winter to now come in here and roar its ugly head. So obviously, be safe on the roads out there. Be safe in general with everything going out there in the world. And we'll be back here tomorrow night, 8 p.m. British Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time with referee Laura Kate. And then we'll have new shows from the Grapple with Canada Wrestling podcast. We'll have the Bury the Gimmick podcast. We'll have the Talking Rivals show. We'll have the Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast. I'm sure Bobby Tats will have a Pinstripe Chronicles show where 99 people will be tagged, and I'll be one of those people. And we'll play the show at some point. I have a number of different shows. So I'm looking forward to it. A very busy day on Sportswire Radio. We're kicking off 2022 in style with Chris Bizet of the Liftoff Jet Show and the Talking Rivals Show. Also, Patrick Trotty, esteemed author and also of the Talking Rivals Show. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here at Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll get the sit-down marks here in about 25 minutes or so. I got to reset the dials. And if you like wrestling or other things, these guys will talk UFC. They do a little bit of boxing as well. So listen to that. Good night, everybody. And I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, New York time, and the full gang for Sportswire Radio recapping the last week of the NFL season. We'll be back here Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Good night, everyone, and thank you.